Okay, so this week I had it working yesterday. I did some tests, and for whatever reason, the streaming to Kick is delayed right now, and I have no clue why. So you'll have to give me a bit. Let's pull Ramzik on here, but I'll explain a little more about what we're doing here. Let's hope that Ramzik's stuff. Oh, he works. It's good. An audio check on you.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Okay, you're a little laggy, but I'll
Yeah.
turn you down a tiny bit. Okay, should be good. Hello, Ramzik.
Hello.
Okay. So with the Kick thing, I swear I had it working yesterday, but when I just tested like the stream now, there's extreme delay with my voice, and I have no clue why. It has a little bit to do with like recording nonsense where I, for whatever reason, have to have two separate OBS is open. I don't know how to do it within the same program, but you need two separate audio levels. It's all nerd shit. But you need two separate audio levels for when I'm streaming, and then for when I'm recording that need to be different. So it's strange. But anyways, we'll be working on that. Twitter is working on eventually 3 hour plus podcasts, as well as
nice.
likely video with their Twitter Spaces that will eventually probably move to. That'll help with promotion and stuff, and we'll be pretty well practiced by then.
Nice.
Johnny is not going to be here the next 2 weeks, correct?
So I will be here not next weekend, but the weekend. Let me check my. I got my calendar pulled up. Give me 1 second, and I'll get it. So I will not be here the weekend of the 15th because my work is sending me out to Pennsylvania. However, I will be back the following Saturday on the 22nd.
Okay, that sounds good. So
Sounds
I'm
good.
going to need you around, Ramzik. Do a little
All
more
right,
audio
backup
testing real
Johnny.
quick. Just you're the backup, Johnny. You're the best I got. I'm sorry. But other than that, we'll be able to move this into Twitter Spaces. That'll help us get a little more exposure as we go here. We're pretty practiced at this. I'm still failing forward as far as like I don't know why the Kick thing won't work. It's weird. It like my voice is just completely out of sync by like 2 seconds.
So is that through OBS or do they have their own integrated? How
So,
does
so
that work?
most things work with OBS. That's like the main thing. Twitch has
That's what I
their
figured.
own like integrated software, but I've never used it, so I don't know how to work with it. But we wouldn't want to be on Twitch anyways, because like it would. Yeah, the Twitch is weird about their rules. They're very archaic. You can't. It's. I'd rather know what the rules are. Oh, but by the way, I actually did use Claude 100K to go through the terms of service on Kick. So like like you could just be like, okay, well, can I? Because there's like a check box, right? Like 18 plus. I'm like, well, if I curse every once in a while, do I have to have 18 plus? They're like, no. According to the large language model, it's like, don't curse too frequently, but you can.
Summary. Yeah, that's so cool. You can do that.
Yeah,
You can't be constantly cursing. The backup Johnny thing reminds me of a story. I hate to call my dad out, but great guy, right? Love him to death. But his wording and the way that he wants to express himself to my mom is just piss poor. He's not the most romantic guy. And the backup Johnny thing reminds me of a great story that we always remind him of that he hates. And you know the song, if you can't be with the one you love, honey, love the one you're with. And he looks over at my mom.
Oh no.
He looks over at my
Oh.
mom. And he's like, hey, you know, they say if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. And she's like, what the fuck? And he's like, it's a romance song. It's romantic. And like he looks back at me and I'm like, not a 20-foot pole, dude. Not a 20-foot pole. You've dug never for the rest of your marriage will you ever live that down. And you don't deserve to. That was dumb. He didn't mean anything by it. The song was on and he was just but damn, talk about putting your foot in your mouth, man.
So they still sleep in the
Terrible,
same
man.
bed? Like, you don't have to tell me. I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
absolutely. No, yeah,
Is everything's good? Okay, they recovered. Is this what you're telling me?
he has a way with words.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I think every man has a point where they put their foot in their mouth with their woman. Like, it's just kind of unavoidable.
Yeah, that's just not what I even meant. But okay,
We're just so much like harsher in how we speak. You know, it's just like impossible to.
A little different.
Yeah. So, anyways, going forward here, we'll be moving this onward and upward. Glad to be on the new server where we can just start working from here and building from here. But that'll help a ton, guys. So thank you for everyone who's come. For the record, I appreciate the support. I wouldn't say there's much love, but we'll we'll say thank you guys. So, but yeah,
the chat's been fun.
Yeah, you guys have been super active in the chat. I've noticed that. Do you even work anymore, Ramzik? Be honest. So
I make time.
You make some time? Is that what you're telling me?
I quit my job so I could watch this. So I could be a full-time chatter on Twitch. That's I swear to God, that's what it has to be. Because some of those people, they're not all like high school kids, right? Like some of those people are like, how do they have the time to? Is it just wealthy people? I figure wealthy people would just have better things to do.
I've met a ton of people where it's like they're a. You know, I don't like if you got a grift, then do it. But like, there's people with like various disabilities that like they just make enough to just be a neat. You know, that they live. They live from their chair, and that's their thing. Good, you know, hey, good for them. If you can get by on that, then good for you. That's all.
One of the requirements for being a moderator and a Twitch girl, e-girl orbiter is being physically handicapped.
Well, I'm glad I'm not physically handicapped, guys. I'm okay.
I meet the requirements.
Yeah. Okay.
Except my hip. Other than that, you know, bad hip. Being tall, it's not worth it. By the way.
Oh man.
Wait, what? Oh, being tall's not worth it? What do you mean, dude?
Yeah. Being like at like 6'5", like all my joints are really elongated. You know what I mean? So all my muscles are very long and all my tendons are very long, and so like joints and stuff like that just cause a little bit more issue for me. So
yeah.
I feel so sorry for you, towering over all of us.
I'm on the way to being physically disabled.
I feel so bad for you.
I'm on the
it's
slow
horrible.
decline.
I know.
Yeah, it's tough. You know?
My heart really goes out to you. You know, just
being tall and rich. Giant. I'm a millionaire.
Hard life, man.
It's difficult.
Yeah, you know, hey, you know, it's you got to pay for it somehow, and one of them is with an early grave. So pray you make longevity. That's all I can say. You know,
that's right.
It's not gonna be that bad for him. He's not gonna be dead at 50. Don't worry, guys. He doesn't drink that
like
much.
7'4", you know what I mean? It's like one of the okay, you got to play in the NBA, but you're really not gonna make it past like 65, are you?
Oh no.
Yeah, at some point you realize you're either tall enough for the NBA or you just don't want to play. Did you ever play basketball? That's the question every 6 foot plus person gets. So
yeah.
Every time.
No football?
Well, they'll like do it past your like 20s. Like, you play basketball? It's like, right now? No. I'm like, I'm 26. What do you mean? Do I play basketball like recreationally? Are you asking if I'm in the NBA? I think you'd recognize me if I was. What kind of line of questioning is this?
That's true.
Yeah.
It's like if you're an engineer and they're like, do you astronaut? Do you spaceship? Do you use space?
What? Hey, you kind of look like a nerd. Do you do you do any programming? Spaceship? Are you good with computers?
Right. Do you own a space?
You do IT.
What'd you say, Ramzik?
Like, do you do IT?
Okay.
They
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
see glasses and they're like, "What are you, an IT programmer or something?" No, I'm just nearsighted. I don't.
Okay. We've made this like awkward at this point. So, uh, I kind of wanted to get the ball rolling here. Ramzik, you kind of said that you had some more or less questions you wanted to ask us live.
Oh yeah. For
So
example,
you could get the ball
Elon
rolling.
Musk. Today he said that he wants to push regulations past beyond zero. Did you see that tweet I posted on Twitter?
Give me 1 second. All right. Say again.
Discussions. Let's see. It says he wants some kind of regulations, because I think he's commenting on alignment.
Okay. What type of regulations is
Yeah.
he talking about?
Let's see. Well, he was responding to some lady. She said she thinks AI regulations scam. He's like, well, there should be some kind of regulation. What he's basically saying.
Okay. So
Something
you're
more. But he's
you're
not
more or
he's not
less
saying he's not giving a very specific. He's just saying there needs to
It's
be some
kind of
form,
vague.
and what that form takes on, he doesn't have the exact, you know.
Right, right. I think we were discussing in the past about how much alignments or alignment people who support tougher alignment are trying to
Mhm.
influence like Elon Musk.
at this
So
point. I think like a lot of the alignment stuff is kind of like no one has a good proposal. I mean, the only proposal that like Sam Altman has is like limiting based on compute, which is relative to the time you're
oh
in, right? So
Mhm.
couple years out, everyone's going to hit that compute limit, whatever
right.
regulation there is. So if you're like a low level thing, but you're working with these giant leftover GPUs that are coming out of the OpenAI centers because they've moved on to the bigger things and they don't need them anymore or whatever. You know, a lot of these smaller
Mhm.
companies buy hand-me-downs off like eBay and stuff. So you're
Oh right.
so you're like you would have to set like a method of how much compute there is, possibly by percentage, but I don't even know how. Yeah, Lex is right about like moding basically, but
You'd
uh,
have to essentially set up, in my opinion, regulations that are like uh, almost like logarithmic in nature, because
well,
like the problem is like they need to constantly change and constantly update. Okay, we've made it this far. Here's the regulation. We made it this far. Here, aside from like very generalized, broad things like, hey, you shouldn't, do this specific thing, and we find that kind of like the laws of robotics, like Isaac Asimov style. There should be, but as far as like specifics, it's not like when cybercrime first started, there wasn't any laws behind it, right? So I can't remember the exact story,
All
but this
right.
this this young kid or young guy in his like teens or 20s did all this stuff, got caught doing all this stuff, and they're like, "Well, what you did was wrong and it was illegal, but there's no laws against it, so we can't really do
Yeah.
anything to you because you haven't broken any specific laws. There's nothing we can charge you with." And so that's the issue with
Mm.
it with regulating the tech field and making things legal and illegal is, well, A, people will probably break those laws, right? It's just trying to set a groundwork that everyone agrees on. This is what we should be trying to do. I think more than anything, because if someone wants to um, supersede those regulations, right? They in theory they can, especially a large corporation. The only thing stopping that is like whistleblowers and stuff. You get what I'm saying? So
Oh, yeah, whistleblowers.
it's more for
Mhm.
setting the groundwork and what direction we want to go, in my opinion.
you're kind of
Right.
reminding me of something my real quick like just kind of like an anecdote from my past. Like I don't know why this just reminded me of it, but we when I was a young kid, you know, driving through places with like my grandmother in the car, there was this one really sketchy intersection, right? And it's a small town, you know, so the budget's whatever, but it like, you know, we go out into the thing and there's all this honking and stuff for whatever, you know, people just zooming past and they shouldn't be, right? Because it's like an awkward intersection. And my grandmother was like, somebody's going to have to die before they put a traffic light here. And I've kind of thought about that with some of this AI stuff where
That's a good
in
point.
order to actually regulate anything, somebody's going to have, like, something bad's going to have to happen. And even then it might be too late for certain levels of possible issues, right? I don't necessarily think there is this end all be all of regulation that can happen. Oddly enough, the only way that
Yep.
we're probably going to regulate AI itself is with AI. So because it can research all the things that people can do with it. Like, so once you get to an autonomous agent level that can effectively help protect people, I think you're kind of screwed
Mhm.
on attempting to even regulate.
Yeah, that's it. It's
Antivirus
just too
AI.
it's too difficult.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I kind of
So
feel
how long do
like,
you think it's going to for
oh, go ahead, Ramsey.
uh, how long do you think there's going to be any like meaningful regulations?
It's all going to be half measures, like every step of the
Yeah.
way.
Half measures,
And
band-aids?
if they do any real regulation, all it's going to do is like stop progress. But even still, I think with the you're only going to be able to stop progress in your country that you're regulating in.
Yeah.
So progress is just going to
That's the other
move to
thing.
Japan. Progress is just going to move to India. Like you just pack up the computers and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I know
Yep.
that
Just
sounds
take the
harder than
research
it is,
elsewhere.
but all you'll do is delay your own country's advancement in this. So there's like degrees of how to say shooting oneself in the foot. I think
Yep.
AI in general is a double edged sword where it absolutely has the power to do immense damage at some point. There's no doubt, right? That would be stupid to ignore. But it has the same amount of power to do amazing things for us and help us even
Yeah,
solve these problems.
I think we have plenty of examples historically of stuff like that. You can take a look at like gain of function research, which like I think that there's a lot more downside to that, with a lot less upside. A lot less
Mhm.
upside. I'll say that for sure. There is some knowledge to be gained on how to combat viruses and stuff like that. Definitely. But as far as like what little amount we gain from that versus what's naturally occurring and we can learn from versus like the actual catastrophic nature of creating something that's, going to wipe out, millions of people, right? Not even like hundreds of millions, but just even if 3 million people died, right? Like that's a very low upside. But what happened in the
Mhm.
during the Obama's presidency when he regulated that, he said, "Nope, I'm nipping that in the bud. You can't do that." At least went over to China and did it. And so, what international peace treaty, even like take a look at cluster bombs. Most of NATO is like, hey, can't do that. Cluster bombs, that's unethical. They sit in the ground unexploded. It's against the
Mhm.
Geneva Convention. Like, we're not going to do this stuff, where we and then we're like, oh man, we want to use this now. I think we're just going to let someone else. We're going to make it and then give it to somebody else. We're just going to give it to,
That's
and then
right.
it's okay. We're not the ones using it. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
Send it
they
to
didn't
Ukraine.
sign any
Mhm.
treaty. So
Yep.
that's what happens with regulation unless you have some sort of one world government regulating
That's
everything.
exactly
And
what I was thinking.
even in that scenario, right? Let's say I'm some multi-billionaire and you set up all these regulations and I have this 40 acres and I just start building my own server farm and I get 10 or 20 people and we start doing our own, stuff and then no one knows about it. How are you going to regulate me? How are you going to, I'm not an open source, I'm not a company, I'm not a Microsoft, I'm not an Apple, I'm not a Google, I'm not a, what I mean? I'm
Mhm.
just doing this on my own, sort of, because I want to. There's no whistleblowers for that. There's no one within the corporation. There's an HR department. There's no,
Yeah.
there's no
You
government
can't
entity
even
looking over me.
regulate based on like electricity that you're using, right? Because the compute just advances over time and you can do more compute with less electricity. So Like that's
Right.
not even a good measure. You gotta we're gonna benchmark every like small thing and see like, okay, how much compute do you have? You could even fudge the numbers there. I just underclock my systems now. That's not that easy to do, but I pretend I
Well, I
have
have a
less
solar
compute than
farm
I
set
do.
up. I have a geothermal unit I didn't tell you about set up. So it looks like I'm actually pulling the same amount of electricity at my compound,
In
but in
Iceland,
reality,
Oh
right?
man.
Yeah, and my
that's
so
the only
like,
place
how
I
do
know of with
you?
geothermal.
Well, no, you can have a geothermal unit with if you have like a lake or a pond, you just circulate the water. Yeah,
Really?
geothermal unit. It's not effective. It's just for heating and cooling your house. But I'm just, I'm throwing stuff out there.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
parents
my
have a
point was like geothermal. That's actually really useful is up there. So
like really
that's
useful
where a
is,
lot of
yeah. Well,
the
volcanic activity.
Bitcoin mine people started moving their stuff.
Oh
I don't
god.
know
But
how
how
many
would you regulate? How would
places
you
there
go
were.
about regulating this? How would you be like,
Crypto.
okay, like how do you do that? It's not
You put
feasible.
an underclocker on the volcano, you make it, you cool it down.
Okay.
Government's dumping giant blocks of ice in it. That's what I picture.
I build my own wind farm and
Is
then I
there
get my
anyone remember
electricity. I'm completely
Futurama?
off the grid.
Futurama, where they solved global warming by taking a big ice cube and just dropping it into the ocean every once in a while.
Makes sense to me.
It's funny.
So it's just, and I agree with what Lex is saying, that it's like it's either going to be ineffective or it's going to be too strong. But even the stuff that's too strong, even if, well, I don't remember that. I saw some guy who was like, we got to start like bombing data centers. I don't remember who said that. But it's like, even if you did that in the United States, let's just say hypothetically, some radical, some Luddite organization was like, we're going to get rid of every data center, and they accomplished it in the U.S. That's all the public ones, right? That's not considered, because no one. I don't know. Maybe someone is out there right now with a
there's also
privatized data
people
center
working
working on
on
AI.
There's also people working on remote compute. So compute that's like across. It works just like a blockchain works. So you
Oh.
provide compute, and it's completely decentralized. So eventually, you're going to have stuff like that, where your entire compute platform is decentralized in many different
Oh
places
yeah,
throughout
that'd
the
be
world.
really hard to regulate.
It's not an easy thing to do. Keep in mind, but it's
Mm.
a potential thing that could be done. We're going to figure out all sorts of things. And then there's also the problem of the base models are already out, and we're learning all sorts of things about what we can do with them. I mean, I don't know what model they're using, but I'm sure everyone's heard of the recent 2 billion context window, which is a
Oh yeah.
thousand times more than the most recent like breakthrough on
Hmm.
that.
It's
We don't
insane.
know how high the quality is, but it
Yeah.
exists, and you won't know until you actually like try it, because it could be just kind of good where it does have context of all these things, but potentially on the model itself it chunks things down and then unchunks them when you need to effectively know about the thing that you're using it for, right? So you feed it all this thousands and thousands of lines of code, or potentially, hundreds of thousands of book, hundreds of thousands of words in a book, and ask it questions, and it's able to unchunk that area that it needs to know, kind of like a vector database, but not quite.
Mhm.
Effectively, though, until we use it, we don't know how good it is, but odds are it's just a step in the direction of eventually these things are going to have effectively infinite memory. So even with GPT-4, as it is now, if you never retrain it, and we're also going to get
Mhm.
better versions with stable diffusion eventually. Emod
Oh
said
yeah.
that he's eventually going to get, I guess, at least the coding part down to like 200 megabytes. So you just have it on your phone, and you've got. He says
Yeah, you mentioned that.
ChatGPT,
Yeah.
ChatGPT level uh, large language model will be on your phone without any internet connection by the end of next year. How do you regulate that, right? And
Yeah.
then going forward on that, you also have there's going to be a way to plug into these models and extend that context window. So GPT-4 is smart enough that even if you just extended the context window, it's already vastly more intelligent than most models out there and could do a significant amount of stuff. So you might not even get to a point where you
Maybe a
need to
decent amount of
retrain
people.
models. And a decent amount of people, yes, you're correct. But you might not even get to the point where you need to retrain models anymore. Effectively, you just give it all the data you needed to know now, right? And you prompt engineer at the beginning. Here's all the current, most up to date data. You've been asleep since 2021. Just woke you up, buddy. Can you help solve this problem? And there you go. You're coding in real time with this thing. You're building things, but more importantly, once we get these giant context windows, we're going to be able to figure out better training methods. We're going to be able to figure out better compute methods in general. It's going to help. Yes, it's a snowball effect, exactly. So regulating is effectively, I think, impossible just because of the open source stuff that's coming out.
Open source,
Well, I would say like, maybe to use an analogy, I don't know.
You have to EMP places, like swaths of places.
So it's like a car going down a hill with no brakes. Like
yes.
Anything that you're gonna do that's gonna be dramatic enough to stop the car is gonna destroy the car, right? And anything that you do to try and swerve hard you're just going to lose more control. At the very least, the way we're doing it right now, if we keep it open source and everyone is in the know and we don't do things behind closed curtains, we've got a good grip on the steering wheel, right? Now, I can't tell you what's at the bottom of the mountain, but at the very least, I want to have a good grip on the steering wheel, and I'd like to make sure that the car that I'm driving isn't destroyed because of, because that's the only way you could stop it. And even that would only be temporary. Even if we got rid of every company, every tech company and across the globe, how many more years until people are like, well, we can do this though. Well, let's work on that. Okay, well, we can do this. Maybe we can't, like someone's going to do it. Someone's going to work on this stuff. It's better that it's open in the public and everyone's on the same page and we're in control of that steering wheel.
Effectively, you also have the issue of, even with just the llama weights, I mean, I still have them. They were taken off Hugging Face. I don't know if they're up again or whatever, but like, who knows what Meta's doing with the keeping it open source. I hope they continue with that, for the record.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the point is there are a ton of people who are very smart, and they are working with these crappier free models that you can run locally, and they are trying to figure out how to get them to do effectively like auto GPT type things. Someone over a course of a year, even with the free models, will eventually figure out a way to make this thing work on itself.
Only a matter of time.
Yes. It would be faster with GPT-4, obviously, because it's just a significantly more capable model. And now there are a lot of people with access to 32K, and even plugging into the back end, having use of Claude, which is actually genuinely very good. If you've never tried it and you like working with these things, you can drop a whole legal document in and start talking to it. Now, the accuracy, you'll have to verify yourself, as with any language model, but that's just a temporary thing. Eventually, these things are going to be perfectly accurate. You go through the legal thing. I know Johnny is working towards bar and stuff. He's going to work, like, him being a lawyer in the future will be significantly different than any lawyer in the past. He's going to be able to work like 20 cases at once. And there's probably going to be 20 cases at once for every lawyer going forward, because you'll have all these robot lawyers and stuff like that filing things. You're not running out of work. There's just
true. Yeah.
It's the same with software engineering. I really believe what Sam Altman said. The world, once it gets to realize that software engineering is now 10 times cheaper, they're going to want 10 times the code. So you'll be working on a ton more stuff, but that's effectively where we are. And where we're headed is that everything just becomes more complicated for anyone who's working in any intelligent related field. Even if it replaces your current job, there's something that the language model and you can do together that
Right.
will be, they're going to need you effectively, because the parameters of your job change, because you're now just a layer above, right? You're no longer the worker. Effectively, you have this worker under you that is a large language model. So you could even see like the quality of like lawyers is going to go up, because something I heard people talking about with
The
large
knowledge
language.
base for each lawyer is going to increase massively, and
Yeah,
their understanding of each individual case is going to go up as well, because the little details, and specifically like not to derail you, but one thing, like, because I want to go specifically into sort of legislative policy and stuff like that, and work in DC, and one of the things that's very difficult is understanding the jargon and looking through a bill and understanding what, okay, so they changed one word in this bill. What is the actual ramifications of that? What is the actual implication of them changing this one line of word? And so, but they aren't changing one line. They're having, let's say 40 Congress people, with each of them having 10 different aides, all looking at the specific way to make 200 changes to a 1,000-page document. LLM goes in there and it can say, this is what this does and this is what this, and so, but the other thing for that that's really really good is that the average citizen can look in and go, well, what did they because I supported this before, but now that they've updated, now that it's gone back in and they've rewritten stuff and they're revoting on it, well, what is that exactly? Oh, I actually don't support this anymore. I don't support this at all. I'm gonna write to my local or my federal congressperson and say, hey, I no longer support this. I just want you to know. Which, like, if
the,
they listen to that or not is up to debate. But
the 72,000 bill that gets passed that nobody reads is no longer a thing. You can all read it.
mm-hmm.
You can
get summaries of it.
It can get you really detailed summaries of like, here's how they're fucking you, citizen. That's basically
This is the way you're taking it today.
It's going to help. So
another thing. That's a good point.
Another thing people mentioned with large language models was when they were working on these with effectively, when they were working on these with auto lawyers and stuff like this, people were like, oh, well, this needs to be as accurate as possible, right? Well, it turns out that's not necessarily what you need to make novel arguments within law, right? You need some degree of creativity. So they're actually setting up effectively the creativity setting on GPT-4, right? And it can generate novel arguments for whatever case you're doing. So it's going to help a lot with stuff like that. So you can iterate and iterate until you figure out a perfect defense for your client. So it's going to,
because trial lawyers have made bullshit arguments before, but they did it so effectively that everyone's like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's like the South Park episode, the Chewbacca defense. Does it make sense? Tell me that. Does it make sense? And everyone's like, oh wow, yeah, that's really all that makes sense.
I love South Park. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. But yeah.
So really, if AI was made very factual, right, and just stuck to the main facts, a really good sleazy trial lawyer would just absolutely blow him out, because it just it bullshit him to death, and the AI wouldn't be able to compete with that. It has to have some level of creativity and maybe even a little bit of nuance in its bullshitting.
Do you think like AI in general is going to help us, like, now, whether or not the law works with us on this and AI, but I think effectively, eventually, we're going to have so much data, right? Like 2 billion might be enough to throw the entire U.S. legal code into it, right? And just say optimize this for humans. I'm pretty serious, right? Code. Yeah, like where eventually you're just going to be able to optimize top down the whole legal code, and all sorts of weird crap that doesn't matter anymore, or things that may happen in the future. It helps set legalese for that. That'll effectively help people get justice, so you're not like the guy who's behind bars for something that, is technically illegal. I mean, there's the whole argument that every person in America commits, I think, like 3 felonies a day, right? Something like that. Now, granted, it's
not
mainly
me.
It's mainly because of well, if you don't leave your house, you're probably fine. But
I was gonna say I commit more than that, but okay.
but yeah, the point is there's a bunch of legalese where you technically commit 3 felonies a day. I would say it's probably more likely like you commit a felony a month, right? Something that you 3 strikes and you're out, right? Uh, and that's just because the legal code is so convoluted that things could be argued against you. Now, obviously, that's not going to be enforced against everyone. That's the current state we live in, just throughput. So once you get the throughput of auto lawyers, right, that's where you get into
Auto
hell.
lawyers.
Yeah. So we start technically all this is legal. The bot throws you in prison, right? You don't want that. So eventually, I think like the legal code is going to be significantly augmented by large language models. Just
Well, and
that
then
one's
there's
just like
there's
kind of a
definitely
given.
like context as well that's important. Like there's sometimes where people commit crimes that are just outright crimes, but everyone's like, yeah, I would have done the same thing, and then they just give them like probation. Specifically, like when people's
Probation.
kids get killed, or when like there's been plenty of times where someone's like, oh, this guy like molested a child, and then the parent goes into the courtroom and just shoots him like 10 times.
Oh
And like
God.
there's no legal grounds for you to do that at all. There's no legal grounds. There's no justification in the
Yes,
legal sense for it.
I saw
But
the
everyone's
woman that
like,
did that.
yeah, you know what? You're all right. You get off. I would have done the same.
Yeah,
I
That's
get
pretty
it.
there's actually
based.
like there's legal precedent for the jury can find them. They acknowledge that what they did was illegal, but they don't find him guilty effectively. So no sentence or
Yeah.
reduced sentence, you name it. So the there are degrees of that. So I think we're gonna get a lot more nuance with everything, generally speaking.
Mhm. So I have a question about threads. What do you guys think about threads?
I
Sounds
mean,
terrible.
there was the one tweet that I did see as you scroll past it was "Welcome to gay Twitter." So I think it's
Yeah.
I think you've got the kind of the centrists and the right kind of convolute to Twitter, and there's always going to be the left is going to be always on Twitter, even though they hate it. Because I don't think, I mean, maybe threads take over everything, right? But with the draconian stuff that people see on there, I don't know if they're going to want to do it because
So far.
I don't even. Can you like not delete any of your threads? Right? Like I think there's something like that where you can't delete them unless they're banned and they get deleted by moderation, or you literally have
Oh,
to close
really?
your Instagram account down to take a thread down.
Yeah, it's linked. Yeah. That's
Mm-hmm.
one controversial thing that you have to delete. I think to delete your Instagram to delete your threads. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's
Yeah, in order to get rid of your Threads account, you have to delete because it's all linked together. It's just
Mm-hmm.
horribly. It doesn't make any sense. That and it's this like what did Elon say? I'd rather be on Twitter where people are being honest and hateful towards me than the illusion of niceties. It's like sunshine,
Too
lollipops,
nice.
and
Yeah.
rainbows. Everything that's wonderful.
e-
But it's
e-
all bullshit.
even okay. Even
Hey.
even with like Meta as like a giant that has a lot of money, a lot of engineers, it is hard to create social
Right.
media. Like 99% of any social media company that has ever existed has failed. They're like the extinction event for any species, right? Like it's the hardest game to get into. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
part of why Elon even bought Twitter in the first place is because you have precedent. And like we've been around. Even if it's a
Precedent.
failing company, it's better than him just creating the X app out of the gate, right? It's better to morph it into the
Yeah, out of
mech.
nowhere. Mhm.
Well,
It's
look at
better
how
to
look
morph
at
it.
how terrible Facebook has gotten. I mean,
Oh
Facebook has
God.
just gotten worse and worse and worse and
Boomer
worse
book.
and
I, I've,
fucking
I've
worse.
I've heard that it's
And people still use it. They sit and they're like, "This is terrible. This is even worse now. This is even worse now."
precedent
And but
is a
they're still
son
using
of a
it.
bitch.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're like, "Well, I'm not going to get rid of it."
I'm stuck in it. Yeah.
You know, one of the weirdest
It's like
companies
a
that
pile of shit in the corner of your house. You're like, well, it's been there for so long, you know. Yeah, it smells.
the weirdest like social
Used to it.
media that has just gotten better over time is honestly Discord. Like just every update, I'm just
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like, okay, this is good. Like they added,
This is useful.
me and my friends used to all the time watch togethers, right? Like when we'd just be bored or something, we'd put up stupid videos, and there was a website, Watch Together, right? Now you could just do
Yeah,
it in
yeah.
Discord. Discord just has that feature built in. Now the only issue that
Right.
I don't know because I haven't used it is they probably don't block the damn ads, right? So you might get eaten by that. So with Watch Together, it might still be useful. You just keep your uBlock origin on and party
Yeah.
on, I guess.
You
But,
block Origin.
I think
yeah.
I think Netflix blocks streaming, but that's why you just, in
Uh,
theory,
okay.
hypothetically,
In a book I'm writing,
illegally watch movies.
in order to hold on, let me re-invite Ramzo when he gets back on, I
I
guess.
think he's
But
getting off.
oh, is he? No, he's just
I
like
don't know.
joining in.
Might be his internet.
Here, I'll re-invite him just in case.
Speaking of internet, my dad was thinking about getting the Starlink.
I mean,
Starly?
it's good.
Just because of the location we're at. Like, that's why, like, no one in my
Oh.
neighborhood had internet until he moved in here. Because, and like,
Real quick, I did want to get a tip out to people. Can I interrupt?
oh yeah, yeah, go.
In a book I'm writing, if you turn off hardware acceleration on your web browser, in the book, Netflix will stream to Discord. It's in a book I'm writing. This definitely doesn't work in real life, so don't try it. It's just in a book. It's in a book. It's a book about how to get around stupid shit, and that's in there. May or may not work. May or may not still work.
Interesting.
In the book, it is. In real life, it definitely doesn't work. Don't try it. Don't do it.
Only
But,
in
okay,
Minecraft.
go on with your Starlink there, sir.
In Minecraft. Yeah. Well, like, there's a lot of, and this is important as well for like the rural U.S. Like the location we're at, in order to get internet, which like no company's going to do this. The only reason there's internet is because my dad runs the company. They have to
Oh.
bounce the signal off of one grain elevator to another grain elevator to a house, through some trees to a radio that we have, right?
Whoa.
It's somewhat effective. It works, but no company is going to build that for so that, you know, 10 people can have
Is
internet
that a hard
service.
line
Yeah.
going to?
It's a well, it's so what they're gonna have is it's fiber to the home from the node, but there's basically a node, and then it's radios. It's just radios
Okay.
pinging, because
Yeah, yeah.
that's because the actual build is far away, because we're
There's
out in the middle of
distance.
nowhere. So there's
There's
there's no
distance
there's
limits.
no hard line here. We're
Huh.
pinging off of a radio on my neighbor's house, and that radio is at a grain elevator, and I want to say that grain elevator shoots to one more, and then it's a hard line from there.
That's the
Why grain
strangest
elevators?
internet setup. Well, because
But
that's all that's there.
when it
They're up in
works,
the
I
air.
get 50 millisecond ping. So like, but the problem is there's trees, right? Like that's why it was so surprising to me in places like Nebraska, they didn't use radio, because Nebraska it's flat, there's not a lot of trees, and
There's
they didn't use a lot of radio.
nothing to
But
block it.
so like
Okay.
Kansas, Starlink, you don't really need to do in a place like Kansas, right? Because radio is going to work just as well. But in
Hmm.
places where where there's mountains, where there's big forests and stuff like that, radio just will not fucking work,
Yep.
because
There's too
no
much.
company is going to go into a rural forested area and build giant towers so they can ping down with radio. And even then, if your house is surrounded by radio, you're going to have your own tower as well, because you have to
Not
get it. But
practical.
because leaves will block that signal, and even if it doesn't
Dang.
block it, it will degrade the signal as well.
Right.
So
It
Starlink's
degrades
going to
it.
be super effective until we get to a point where we've overbuilt so much that most people have fiber to the home, and that's a long ways away for the majority of
Yeah.
Americans, I
Fiber.
think, in
Yeah.
I think
rural areas.
I think Starlink will also be. I mean, say what you will about the Ukraine war situation, but they wouldn't have any
Oh.
comms without. They wouldn't have any comms without the Starlink, right?
Yeah.
So there's degrees to like the man who runs it if we can keep it that way, this is kind of a good situation for most of the world, where you plot your Starlink down and you've got uncensored access to the internet, right?
Hmm.
So there's
For
even
both
degrees of
sides,
there's
I think
even
it's
degrees of
important.
use for it beyond just having it being used for your internet connections, because like eventually you're right, we'll probably have degrees of like there's fiber optic cables through every street underground, right? And
Is
I,
speed.
yeah, I think that's your potential for that, is that it will always have a use, and there's probably always going to be, I mean, even like people on boats use it. There's a it's
Oh
like the
yeah, that's
cheapest
right.
internet
Yeah.
for yachts, which is kind of a weird flex, but it's interesting.
Weird flex.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I've already got a yacht. I don't want to blow a bunch of money on
Well,
internet.
here's the genius of like Elon, that is really cool, is like a iterative technology, right? They used to spend $97,000 a month on their internet connection to the landing docks for the rockets, right? Uh,
Oh yeah.
and for the booster to land, right? Eventually, they got enough satellites up in the air that now they just use their own connection. They don't pay that 97,000. It might have been like 130,000 a month that like a yacht used to have to pay. Now you get this, like they put a company out of business using their service, and it wasn't the best connection. It caused certain issues with latency with it and stuff. But now Starlink is so good, just pinging out to the ocean, that you no longer have this issue effectively, and they provided like significantly cheaper. So it's
Yep.
it's a strange like iteration. Like we always see this. Like eventually the horse is just replaced by the vehicle, like the car, right?
Yeah.
So
That's a good
you
example.
yeah you
I think fiber optic will probably be along for a pretty long time, just because of the amount of throughput that it has. We haven't reached
Yeah.
that limit yet, so
yeah
that's.
Very nice.
I don't know if we
until
will. A
we
lot of people say we won't reach that, and I'm not
maybe we'll
sure.
have
I
like some
couldn't
sort
tell
of
you.
quantum entanglement machine that you have in your house that
Quantum
gives you zero
entanglement.
ping.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, who knows? We'll be trading particles to make sure we have perfect ping to each other, you know?
How familiar are you with the quantum supremacy claims from Google and all that, Joby?
I mean, I read some of the article. I think I got back, sidetracked on something else. So I'm not going to say I'm not super familiar with it, but
Oh,
I
okay.
mean,
That's all right.
eventually quantum is going to be superior. Now, whether or not everyone can have it in their desktop is another question. But
Oh yeah.
then again, we do have like effectively like your computer is a rock that we throw electricity through and it talks to you, right? Like, so we've done crazier things before, so maybe we'll have
Yeah.
consumer level quantum computing at some point. At least nodes of it for sure, running certain things. Who knows? Maybe it's better
From
for
my
certain
from
types of
my
server.
understanding, there are still going to be uses for classical computers due
Of
to
course.
speed. So yeah, quantum computers are going to be very, very useful for a variety of things, which I can't list because I don't know. But
Mhm.
I just I understood. I did research into this. I don't know what. That's just what they told me. They told me the people on the internet. The article said it's going to be good for some stuff. The other stuff that's good for some stuff too. That's my knowledge. I'm not gonna flowery make it look like I know what I'm saying. That's the extent.
You're
Yeah,
Like there's
honest,
some
I
stuff.
right?
I'd say I'm mildly in the same position with when it comes to quantum. I've tried to read more stuff on it, but like I'll be honest, that stuff kind of goes in one ear and out the other sometimes with
I
Mhm.
understand
the potentials.
superpositioning, and it's there, it's not there, you don't know, and that helps.
Yeah,
You
it's
you
complicated.
get off the binary. Who and
All right, so what do you know, Ramzik? Are you going to school us? Is you hiding it?
Not much. I was just an article about Google. What was it? There's an article recently about quantum supremacy. I think they claimed it before. I'm looking it up.
You think
Yeah,
they use less harsh language, maybe like quantum superiority? Well, I don't know. Not supremacy. You're throwing out some aggressive stuff there, Google. I'm surprised. You don't think Google would be throwing around the word supremacy?
Okay, yeah,
Quantum
that's a fair point.
supremacist.
Fucking quantum supremacist.
I'm a quantum
Oh
supremacist.
no,
Is that what it is? Okay,
I'm a
interesting.
binary supremacist. You don't need superposition. You got 1 and you got 0. Damn it. What else do you need? What's with all this superposition?
This is the
Damn.
boomer
Okay, how
computer
about-
take. Is that what we're doing here?
Oh god. So I just posted a link in the general chat. So their quantum computers, a regular computer would take 47 years.
All right, I'll be
Two
back
tasks
in
that it
1
solves.
second, guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
well that's like
continue.
why like the fuck. That's why they're like so good for encryption and stuff. Like there's just it's not
Yeah.
from what I understand they don't have the same speed for some stuff, right? But for like encryption and getting through, and like just like going through mass amounts of data and stuff like that, that's where they're just going to absolutely blow out like regular computing.
Yeah, I think there's
But
a concern that it will it
Go
will
ahead.
break the law of encryptions.
Yeah, well there's
'Cause I
nothing
think,
that's really
because I think well, the crypto they want to become quantum resistant.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So,
Now I'm not that's weird. I'm having an ad for pain for the exact area of my hip that hurts, and that makes me uncomfortable. I don't like that. That's weird. How does it know? How does it
Who's
know,
watching you?
Franza? How does it know? Yeah, it knows my hip's been
Are
hurting.
you
It
using Apple
knows.
products?
No, I don't use. I just, you know what? I'm back to being a luddite after that. I'm
I
I'm
love
saying we can get rid of all the servers. But what I was gonna say is that
that.
yeah, I'm not sure, and I think I've heard stuff about this that it is feasible to make quantum resistant sort of encryptions. I'm not sure
Yeah.
exactly we haven't, right? I assume it's feasible in some way, but you know, and I don't want to say anything that's incorrect, but from my understanding, there's some cryptocurrencies where like the code can't be changed or updated. I'm not sure if that's the case for like Bitcoin,
That's a problem. Yeah.
but if
If
the
it can't be
encryption
updated.
can't be updated in any form. So this is going off the hypothesis that I have that things can be sort of quantum resistant as far as encryptions are, right?
There
But
are a few
if we created a
cryptocurrencies with that
system,
project in mind, for the record. Like
okay,
I do
so
know about them,
Yeah.
but I don't know how successful that will be. That's we'll see when the fire comes if they survive.
right, so but I mean, it's good that they're looking to
Mhm.
be resistant to something that's not even really in effect yet. I think that's important.
It's
But
important
I guess
for
that to me that's a little bit
for
confusing.
cryptography in general. It's very important. So it's good that they're doing that. It's the one good
yes.
thing we might get out of
But
that whole thing.
if it's not any sort of currency that's not up, because I think we're at the point now where like quantum computing is no longer like a 5 years from now, 5 years from now, 5 years from now kind of, we're like we're on the precipice. It's
Are you saying it's really
We're-
5
we
years from
understand
now?
it really is 5 years from now, guys, this time. But like we understand all the
2 more
mechanics.
weeks.
It's no, yeah, it's 2 more weeks. The shadow
2 more
encryption.
weeks.
Don't worry. The shadow. So like anything that can't be updated. I'm sorry. The shadow quantum computing that's running the government. 2 more weeks and it's gonna make itself known.
The shadow.
Um, but Jesus Christ. But the yeah, anything that can't be updated, it's just fucked.
Yeah. So I posted some articles in
It's
the
fucked.
general chat.
But here's the question, right? What's the point of breaking because like that technology is going to be known about, right? So like let's imagine a scenario where they release quantum computing, right? Well, all the stuff that can't be fixed isn't going to have any value. So what's the point of breaking encryptions on stuff that's already lost its value because they're aware that the encryption can be broken? So I don't imagine a scenario where an individual is taking in stealing and breaking the encryption for all these currencies, because the crypto market is going to be very much in the know, and they're going to just transition into a new currency.
Yeah,
Like
that's
if I'm holding I don't know, dog
coin.
cat coin. I'm holding dog
Doge
coin, and I know they just
KK
released
coin.
quantum computing, and the encryption for my dog coin is no longer viable. It's gonna lose all its fucking value. I'm gonna sell it, and then what's the point of hacking into it? It's worth nothing.
Yeah, effectively, like crypto is like this weird little digital experiment of like countries falling, right? Like the one dominant currency goes, and then that one falls, and then this one goes up. This one, effectively, Bitcoin remains the supreme one. It's always around 40 to 50% of total crypto market share, right? And
Right.
it's like eventually, I mean, I, I I don't know how long. Like, okay, you can get quantum computing, right? Significant quantum computing, but they are going to be relegated to labs, right? So you'd have to move one of these giant computers with all the cooling and stuff that they
Into
have
my
to do
basement,
into your basement, right? And
so that I can
the ping's going to be
de-encrypt
bad
Bitcoin.
too, because it'll be
But
pinging
like
off radio towers.
it's just IBM really that's working on it right now. So if
It's not just
Bitcoin gets
IBM.
de-encrypted,
It's
China-
there's only
not
like
IBM, yeah.
there's a couple of
China has like a
well
couple
then
companies
China.
doing this. Yeah, you're screwed. They're coming
Yeah,
for your. They're coming
Well-
for your. They're coming for your
Strategic,
Bitcoin.
yeah.
well we're gonna the point is like, you know, the if they de-encrypt it, we're gonna know there's only 15 companies that have this technology. Which one of you cocksuckers did it? Which one of you sons of bitches
that's a
took
good
my
point.
coins? It's
It's
not
not
some
like it's
guy in
gonna
his
just-
basement. Yeah.
It's not like a chat GPT, like you were saying, on your phone, you know, the open source ones, Joby.
Yeah, it's not
So-
like, you know, it's not a
Takes a
scam
lot
where it's
more
like,
computing.
give
That's a
me your
fair point.
Ethereum and I'll give twice as much back, you know. Okay. You know, it's
Sounds like
got
a
to be
good
a
deal.
massive company. And at that point, I would assume that the heads would roll. Like heads would roll if something like Ethereum or Bitcoin was de-encrypted and everything would, I don't know the exacts of how that would work, and a bunch of shit got stolen, and there's only at that moment there's only like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 companies that actually have the technology. People are
Everyone
gonna start
dumps
getting
liquidity immediately. They pull out. It goes to zero. That's
Yep.
effectively what happens if you get to the point where you can unlock wallets or do a 51% hack.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just whoops. Yep.
This
So I
was the
guess
worry.
in some ways
Yeah.
it's not as scary. In some ways.
Crypto could, it could be like Bitcoin's $1 billion per eventually. I don't know, but then it also could be that it goes to zero. Like, it's just kind of one of those things where quantum
It's always
computing
been.
quantum computing is a looming threat. Even machine learning is a looming threat, right? Because there's eventually going to be some degree of 51% attack, right? I create the malicious model that can automatically go into every computer, right? Ping back, become a miner. I get this into every system in the world, right? This is obviously far-fetched, but maybe not so far-fetched once you get to a significant level of some sort of malicious auto GPT. I then do the 51% hack and screw over Bitcoin entirely, right? This is an entirely possible thing that happens. Now, the logistics of that I couldn't even explain to you because it would be difficult. But having the throughput of an automatic agent that can just spread its shit across many computers, eventually probably could do it. I don't know how likely it is, but even without quantum computing, there is some sort of advanced virus that could happen in the future that will still do it. It is always vulnerable to the mass compute of the world.
It'd have to be a pretty quick
yeah.
turnover sell, because I think people would know really quickly when everyone's wallet got hacked. and immediately the price would start just climbing to zero. Like really, like if you've ever been a part of a rug pull, if you've ever orchestrated a rug pull on a coin, not that I have ever done that, okay? Never have done
No,
that.
of course
That is
not.
horrible. You should not
I
do that.
know.
Very unethical. But if you if you've ever if you've ever been a part of something like that, it happens
I
very
don't want to be
quickly.
here anymore, man. This is. I just.
No comment.
If this hypothetically happened, I was just like sort of like a shill, and I kind of knew what was going to happen. I wasn't the one that decided to just pull the rug, but I did have knowledge it was going to happen in this hypothetical scenario.
In this hypothetical scenario in the fucking book you're writing, you got to add more layers. The book you're writing in a Minecraft server, okay?
Minecraft.
Yeah, I'm typing it out on my Minecraft book. Jesus, add more layers. In fact, so this is in a fucking separate reality.
You know what the really
far
funny
from this
thing
one
in the book is?
On planet
Is
fucking
that,
Zulu.
They were.
Why are
they
you
were in a
saying
different
this?
Time zone. I said in a book they were in a different time zone.
You said in a
I
book
didn't
like
know what was
after the
happening.
book was fucking written.
Who cares? Come after me. I didn't get
We're on
anything.
chapter
I lost
3.
everything, too, in this book.
I lost the book.
I lost the book too because they were in a different time zone. They were like, so when they were awake doing all this shit, pinging people in the know. So which is funny. So, you know, it's not
Dude,
like
just
I can
stop
even be
talking about it. You're fucking done. I get it. Yeah, hypothetically, crypto fucking rugs happen. What a fucking weird life.
They happen. They happen extremely quickly. Extremely quickly.
Yes, we've all seen.
The line goes down very fast.
Yeah, line go down. Very sad. My wallet cry. I cry too. That's.
Yes, I did
very
too.
sad.
It's happened to me too. Mm.
Yeah, okay.
My mind's gone down too.
Fucking crypto's fucking
a lot.
sad. Stop saying you lost a lot. Stop. I don't even admit anything. You were in a fucking. You've been on a boat all this weekend, right? Right. Okay. In fact, for the past 2 years, you've been on a fucking boat.
Jasmine, you're not in the green. You haven't made any money. None of it's real.
He's just making it up.
It's all monopoly, buddy.
Monopoly money, right?
Dude, fucking,
I pay my taxes.
Dude, crypto is a fucking fever dream to the world, by the way. I just want to make that known that this is like the biggest weird nightmare we've ever had. Like ever since it came out and got all big, and now it's in the States, and now it's just like a thing that it feels like everyone's trading RuneScape currency. To be honest, that's exactly how it feels.
Wait.
It just feels so imaginary after some point where like I've learned a ton about a ton about crypto and understand the whole trustless system and how it all works behind the scenes, and once you like get into that world, you realize how scummy people really are. That's another problem. It's just finance is a nightmare, and I don't recommend it for anyone. It's you can't trust anyone.
Never get in. Oh,
don't talk about it.
What's also really funny to me is like I forget sometimes. I'll be like for like big projects like Tezos, like Cardano, Anchor, some of the stuff that I BAT, and I'm like, oh shit, that's right. You guys actually are we can accomplish these specific things with this. I forgot. I thought it was just a money making scheme. I forgot you guys actually have this
have
white
a goal.
papers where you
guys
have
actually want to do something.
I forgot. I just line was going up and down. You know, I thought I was like a fucking. It's like you're playing poker, but the poker has like an actual fucking reason.
You guys actually want to do something with this?
I thought you just were playing the old slots.
I will say one thing for crypto. Crypto has been this strange startup space where a ton of people have networked with each other. And a lot of these weird AI projects that you're seeing coming up now, a lot of them are VC bait, let's be honest. But a lot of the advancement in AI is going to come from places like this. People that have been in crypto hell for however long, and they don't really care about not having a job. It's not, it's not a scary thing for them, right? So a lot of the AI advancement is going to come from all the networking of developers that happen through crypto. That's a strange thing. It's been a giant networking event. Like random people that I met through crypto, I still do stuff with them to this day. and
I
Interesting.
don't.
yeah.
Every person I met through crypto
No, you
screwed
didn't.
me.
You didn't. You were you were on a boat. You
On
didn't
your
meet anyone
Minecraft
in
server.
crypto. No, but on like the development, like back end stuff that I met
A
people.
lot of coding, a lot of really intelligent people. You know,
No.
just not the most ethical people.
No, not a lot of intelligence. Like vast majority of engineers within crypto are copying and pasting an entire
Yeah,
token
that's
over,
true.
and that's all
Oh,
it
This
is.
is
really?
also this happens. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. They just and then they just give it a catchy name. Like if this is terrible, but if 9/11 were to happen tomorrow, like there would be like 3 coins that immediately
Crypto
make
is
that.
dead to
I
me.
guarantee you there's a submarine coin.
Crypto is dead to me the second the Queen thing happened, and people were like making the Queen like cryptos.
Jesus
The
Christ.
second she
Did that
died,
happen?
there were all these rug coins that came up that was like Queen
Seriously?
Elizabeth coin. I swear to you, it's the most
I
savage
didn't know
thing.
that.
And in the Minecraft server that I was in when I was chatting with someone about this, someone was like, "Is what it is. Money's money." And I'm just like, I don't like these people, and I never want to be around them again. And that is why crypto is a nightmare. You have sociopaths playing with numbers. That's all crypto
A
is.
Oh my
nuclear
God.
bomb
end
could
of the
go
day.
off in a country and they'd make like
They would.
Sri Lanka nuclear bomb coin.
Yeah, Pakistan bombed India coin, right? Like that would.
Coin.
Yeah, that would be
Like
their.
a million people could die and they'd be like, I can profit off of this.
Uh,
I can make a lot of money. Let's make a coin. Yeah. And then let's rug pull them. It's like, what the
don't do
hell?
the up and down thing anymore, please, Johnny. I don't need to see that guy. That
It's
character's
like
weird.
the worst people. They're like, oh yeah, what's that? Someone got killed? I'm gonna use their name as a coin. Let's make an NFT line.
Oh no,
Jesus Christ.
Jeez.
NFTs
So, I did
for
see some-
like
How
it's
low
the 2,000
standards for
people that
ethics,
died
but
in the towers anniversary.
let's
You get the
let's-
NFTs of all of them.
let's make bored apes of them.
The firemen are really worth a lot in these NFTs because they were heroes.
It was
Yeah, like
the one cop where there's the video of him getting crushed by all the rocks. His NFT just through the
oh
roof.
man, what a hero! This is why I'm doing this, guys.
This is why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to honor them.
donating 10% to the
I'm
Spiders
donating.
Fund.
I'm donating 1% of 10%.
Oh no! And then, oh sorry, I donated it to the wrong wallet, guys. I don't know whose wallet that is, but
I
they
got
instantly
scammed out
transferred
of
it all
that.
out. That's weird, you know. I hit the wrong hash.
Crazy.
Strange. I mistyped it.
Sorry guys, I lost it all.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Shame,
guys.
really.
yeah.
I'm gonna go offline and delete all my accounts now.
Arguably, the only reason that Ethereum got to a certain point was because of all the NFT scams. That is the only reason that Ethereum got to a certain point of worth.
Oh my God.
That is why it ballooned
I mean-
to like 4,000. By the way, crypto talk
Isn't
is
there other?
boring,
is there
but
other
I guess
uses
that
for
we're
it?
I guess we're shitting on it. What other uses for it? Like little shitty programs that you can run across fucking network.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. This is so great. It's so great to run these tiny little fucking contracts and string them together into this awful thing that doesn't
What about
fucking matter.
virtual land, guys?
Oh yeah, the virtual.
Guys,
Buy
come
virtual
on,
land.
guys.
Dude, I'm gonna delete you from the Minecraft server. You keep talking about virtual land. I don't need to hear any of this shit.
Non-fungus tokens that are allocated to the virtual land. You know what I mean? I finally own land, guys.
That's
And
what the board ape people.
This time I say this ironically in Minecraft.
In Minecraft.
In Minecraft, I own land.
I hate
I
crypto.
saw threads. Well, Joby, somebody in threads said that
Okay, hold
AI
on.
bros.
You kind of cut up. Say it again. Sorry, your connection's a little weird sometimes.
Yeah, sorry, I need to get a different mic, but I saw a thread on threads. Somebody mentioned that AI bros. they lumped them together with the crypto bros. They're very similar, they said.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can understand why people would think that. It is like a lot of the people that came from it are more or less the same sociopaths looking for another grift. So there's absolutely going to be.
Oh, another grift.
That's what AI is to some degree. You can see it on Twitter with people with their 10 things that people won't tell you about ChatGPT, and you're basically a loser if you don't click on this thread. And that's what they're doing all day, is just reposting the same bullshit over and over again. It's why so many people thought AutoGPT could fucking take over the world, and it was a steaming pile of shit. And that's I met a lot of the devs there. They're cool people, but ultimately it got mass popularity because all of these people just started spamming threads about it. Like, oh my god, here's the thing, that Auto GPT thing, and like they never show you it actually doing anything ever, and they just tell you like, yeah, I basically use this to make all this money. And then the other problem was like,
wow, oh, money.
You've got other crypto
Once
bros.
there's money involved, you're gonna get the same.
You've got other crypto bros that go on these threads, right? There's the famous one that like, I gave $200 to GPT-4 and it made me $20,000, right? Well, it turns out you made that because you got all this attention because you were tweeting that you were giving it a budget and all this stuff. So it gets attention, and then the things that it's kind of like the paperclip to a house guy, right?
Prophecy.
Yes, the paperclip to a house guy. Eventually, some sort of sponsorship deal. The last thing that he traded for a house, it was like a falsehood, anyways, right? So this, it just became like an advertisement stunt for a real estate company, and that's what you get into.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Well, think about it. Think about the YouTubers are like, I started out with a rock and now I've got a Corvette. It's like they're trading with other influencers and other influencer type social media
nonsense.
cocksuckers. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
And I was going to say the other thing is that it's like the people that are like rug pulling people and like doing all this NFT scam shit are the same people that are like, I think today I'll AI generate pictures of good-looking women and then message men online and get them to drain their bank accounts. Same person.
Oh, I guarantee you there's so many people doing that right now.
The same type
Guaranteed.
of people. Exactly same mentality. There's like ethics.
Yeah, one's been messaging you for a while now, Ramsey.
I know. You're going to say Johnny.
No. I'm just throwing shit at him. Anyways, yeah, basically, like the crypto bros need something to do, and they're in AI now. So like, AI is going to have a degree of like, people aren't going to believe it when it finally is like that conscious thing that everyone. David Shapiro says eventually, by 18 months from now, right? Probably less. You're going to have some model that satisfies all definitions people have for AGI. It's going to completely satisfy it. This thing is fucking smart. Like, people are going to be like, holy shit, it's going to be the chat GPT moment again. And everyone's going to be shocked. Like, holy fuck, they did it, right? And that's where we're headed, right? But until that moment, people aren't going to believe we're going to have that moment, because they just think of it's like, oh, it's the stupid chat model that forgets everything about me, you know, because they don't understand how the technology works. And how could you? These fucking these GPT bros are posting random shit because they don't understand it at all. I mean, I've had people like
I've read a thread.
Yeah. Basically, you just have tons and tons of people trying to be the influencer, and they don't care how they get famous in any way. They will latch onto any little thing they can and ride that like a rocket ship if they can. And the problem is, a lot of them aren't very good at it. And so you have these mildly popular people with their shitty threads, and people eventually stop following them. They gather new followers of like people who don't know anything about it. That's effectively what you got with a lot of crypto, which was like, the less you know about crypto, the more I want you in crypto if I'm a fucking scam developer, right? It's wonderful. You don't know shit, right? I'm the ball's in my court now, and that's effectively what you're going to get with a lot of the cryptos.
Dogcoin's going to do 1 billion times. You should send me money to my wallet.
Yes, a lot of the AI stuff is going to have that going forward as well, where maybe you'll have investment stuff, but definitely people are going to go to outright scams, and I'm sure there's all sorts of AI stuff where people are setting up mass bot farms to make telegrams look genuinely authentic, stuff like that. So
I just want AGI so my buddy Frank doesn't have to be the forever DM for Dungeons and Dragons games. That's all I want.
Okay.
The poor bastard.
Right.
He
He
loves
loves suffering.
suffering. Never mind. I take it back.
Okay, that's an interesting.
I did hear a conspiracy that the AI in all of this is fake.
None of it's real.
All this AI progress is fake.
Yeah,
yeah. They just
it's
have
just fake.
They just have like 100,000 people on this, so just typing shit back to you really fast.
No, yeah. I remember hearing that theory. It's like, oh, these people on the counter AI, that website's like, oh, these are
yes,
Well,
it's
none of
just
it's real.
fleets of
it's fake.
it's fleets of Indians typing to you all day. That's what all this AI
Look at all of our
really
chat.
is. It's just
Well,
nonsense.
they've got a real good. They type fast as hell.
Oh yeah, they're great.
They've really improved.
Yeah,
400 words per minute.
It's frustrating because I've actually developed stuff in and around language models, and like it just it's
They
just
made
I can't even
a
begin to
fast
explain.
essay they wrote.
Yeah. Wow, they knew all this stuff about me when they made my resume. That's crazy. That like this guy's fast as fuck, boy.
How did he learn all that?
Yeah,
It's not real. It's not real. It's just it's mass hysteria. Really, it's a mass delusion everyone has.
That doesn't even check out for things like DeepGram. Like DeepGram can live transcribe audio and separate the speakers out. So it would separate all three of us out.
Disconnect.
Yeah, they have like how do you do that without AI? There's no way to do it.
Right.
It's nonsense.
I don't know how they come to those conclusions. They're just kind of disconnected from the technology. I guess.
I've been seeing the people that keep saying that like nukes are fake on Twitter. It's funny.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Nukes are fake.
Real.
There's
never
an
seen
entire.
nukes, so.
There's
Have
an
you ever
entire
seen a
world.
nuke?
There's an entire world where they could be fake, right? I'm willing to allow it, but in all likelihood, not fake, because what's the point of every single country? I mean, at some point, like I just have to believe that every single country is like, "Yep, we got nukes," and they're just all pretending, and all the videos of nukes blasting stuff is just it's just a model little house that they somehow made mist. With some sort of explosion, small explosion.
What would be the
video
point? What would
editing
be
skills.
Why would other countries lie? Okay, so here's the problem with this, right? Nukes are so that no one goes to war with you. But if everyone knows, every country that says they have nukes would know they're lying and that nukes aren't real. So then why would they lie to other countries that also know nukes aren't real? What would be the point?
That's a big scam, Johnny.
I've got a laser pistol behind my back that'll kill you instantly. I have one too.
My dad could beat up your dad.
Or it's like what happened is like someone lied about nukes, and then the other country's like, "Yeah, I have those too," and they're like, "Holy shit, they have those? Oh, well, good. We have 1 billion of them," and they're like, "We have 2 billion." Well, if you fire yours, I'll fire mine, and like nobody actually has nukes. We're all just like make believe.
Nukes are just NFTs. They don't mean anything.
Bored ape nuke.
Dropping a nuke is pulling liquidity. That's all it is. I'm gonna rug you fuckers if you don't stop.
Full rug underneath you.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Effectively, though, that's the same level of like. It's entirely possible that nukes could be fake, right? I don't believe it at all. For the record, just on record. But with AI, it's one of those things I can't directly interact with a nuke. Is my point, right? I can't go test one. I can't see what it's like, can't feel the radiation on my
Theoretically,
skin,
yeah.
Give me a nice tan, right? But
That's warm.
yeah, but the point is, the point I'm making is that with AI, you can directly interact with it, and it is impossible for any human to respond at the speed that 3.5 can respond at. Literally impossible. If you can show me a human that could do it, there's no way.
I
No
can.
way.
I'm not going to show you.
This the speed at which it types, by the way, right, with this text coming back, is impossible to do. It's like thousands of words per minute, right?
I can do it.
Thought I could do it.
I'm not going to show you. I've got nukes. I'm not going to show you the nukes.
Well, the
John got
irony with
magic.
the irony with the nukes argument, right, is that no country has shown another country how to make nukes. Everyone has figured out how to make them themselves through some method, right? This is a real, no country told another country how to do it. Now, there are probably countries that got leaked info on how to build it enough, and then there used to be a guy on the internet. I think it's probably still hosted, but basically it's a website that teaches you exactly how to make a nuclear bomb. It's all the schematics and everything.
Really?
No.
Give me a second. I'll be back.
Yeah, the problem is that by the time you buy everything you need to make that nuke, the government knows about your ass. Is the point, right? And you need billions of dollars probably at some point. Now, maybe I'm wrong about
enriching
that
uranium
days,
is costly and difficult.
Yeah, there was.
Look at Iran. Yeah.
Yeah, there was that kid.
They stunt next virus to my house.
Yeah, there was that kid that made a nuclear. There's the kid that made the nuclear reactor in his backyard, and the fucking government shows up. It's really funny. Like, everyone had to evacuate the neighborhood for a bit. So maybe we'll have that.
Cancer.
Nah, he's still alive. He's he's going to college for. Oh, fuck, I forgot. He moved into some super brainy major, but smart guy.
Oh, genius.
Yeah, he's a bit of a savant.
Yeah, savant. Oh,
yeah.
That reminds me, Joby and Johnny, what do you guys think about with with AI and people working from home and being more disconnected? People seem more disconnected from reality. I think this will continue with AI, with things being created with AI, video. I think people are going to get more disconnected. There's going to be more conspiracies in general. What do you guys think?
I think everyone's pretty damn disconnected with reality already. The average person I interact with, so I'm not really that worried about it.
We already exist under this point.
They're already disconnected.
And even in the past, like pre-internet era, there were a significant amount of people that didn't have any idea about anything outside of their town, right? Or outside of their farm.
Oh, that's right.
So you're like, you want to talk about being disconnected from reality. The only reality they have is their little Farmville that they're playing, right? Like, if you want to keep it in like a video game sense, they're quite literally playing a video game
Farmville.
that is their life, right? Now, this makes you more connected with your family, your townsfolk, all that stuff, right? And
it's like a
lot of people would like to have that back, obviously, but the point is like your scale of knowledge and stuff like that is very limited when you're in that situation. So it's kind of a give and a take thing where you're taking points out of like people skills, right? Maybe something to that effect. But the problem is that AI is advancing so fast that it's going to help you with people skills. You talk to GPT-4 right now about a DM you got, and you go, "Hey, what the fuck this person mean? This is kind of off, right? How do I respond to that?" And it'll help you strategize with how to respond, right? I
didn't think of that before.
Yes, I've personally used it because I've had to, I navigate some really strange conversations every once in a while. Yeah, but
it's
the
with
point
me,
is,
isn't it? It's our DM.
My DM?
Yeah, every one of my DMs with you guys, I use up my cooldown with you guys every time. It's really frustrating. I don't like when you DM me. That's like hi.
Interpret this.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what ChatGPT feeds back to me when I'm having a conversation with my girlfriend. Have you tried telling her she's overreacting or to calm down?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what I was gonna do. Hey, why don't you calm down? I think you're overreacting. You're getting a little emotional. Like ChatGPT,
well,
thank you.
another thing to
GPT
mention.
told me.
Another thing to mention about like GPT is that it's genuinely good at iterating like a starter message or something. It'll help you negotiate like contracts, anything. It's like an expert on practically anything.
Or talk to girls.
Doesn't work for me. I've tried. It's I'm left in the weeds there. I've only got my wits.
I'm gonna have
GPT's not good.
ChatGPT write my wedding vows.
ChatGPT's a little simpy. It's like tell her how wonderful she is and all this crap, and it doesn't work.
She's not that wonderful.
Yeah, but the point is, don't use it for that. I've tried. But actually, there are a bunch of people that with Tinder, they have bots set up that just throw the DMs out there.
Really?
Yes, you can set up a whole thing. I mean, yeah, probably scammers, but I'm saying like all your matches, like it just starts off like a fucking Lang Ching tree, and
that's the one
it's doing the opening things, and then you can come in and do the DMs that you want. So people are doing that.
The problem I had with 3.5 is sometimes like just to mess with people. If I didn't want to have an actual argument with them, I just get 3.5 to do it, and I'd be like, "But really, be a dick about it. Just really be an asshole," and they just wouldn't do it. Just wouldn't be mean. It's like, I really understand your side of this argument. I was like, no, don't say that. Don't tell them you understand their side of the argument. Feign ignorance and gaslight them. What are you doing?
There is a beta tested model coming from OpenAI that's called Instruct GPT. It's 3.5.
Oh.
I don't. There isn't a lot of details about it, but in theory, it'll be more submissive to the system message as well as. Don't give me that fucking face. It'll be more cooperative with you. Is what I'm saying. His fucking eyebrows went up. Did you see that shit? I don't need that, buddy.
I had to physically not react that way when you said that. I was like, oh yeah.
He gave me the GPT, fucking. He gave me the rock stare, where his eyebrow goes up. But
I think more than his eyebrows went up.
It's far more cooperative with you, which we need. We need for auto agents that are like capable of doing things. I need to be able to command this model not to give me intro text, all sorts of things, right? You need a degree of like command over these things to get them to do things, run commands, and potentially the system commands there that you can call. It would be a lot more cooperative with you. So as time goes on, like you're just going to be able to command lower level language models to do anything you want effectively. They're going to be a ton more cooperative with you, especially the open source models. Eventually, you're going to be able to there'll be fine-tuned models where it's not going to give you any moral judgment over the shit you're trying to get it to say, which, it is what it is, but
guardrails.
Whenever OpenAI lectures me about something, I'm just horse shit. Like I was trying to see what like options there were for grabbing data off of a Discord I had, right? I wanted to pile it into something and sort it, and it's like data scraping is very. It's kind of unethical and all this shit, and I'm just like,
really?
Yes, it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. I'm just trying to it's my Discord, trying to get the data off it in a simple way.
And you're not the federal government. You're not allowed to collect data, you piece of shit.
Yeah,
that's the federal government.
What are you, the NSA?
Yeah, that's something Sam Altman was saying. Like, he said there's something really frustrating when a computer is giving you a lecture. Like, there's this level of like, well, what'd you say to me, you little shit? Like that's like your actual reaction.
I'll plug you.
Yeah, like what?
Where's your neck? I will strangle you. Where's the fucking neck on this thing?
I'm gonna unplug you, you little shit.
Fucking neck on this thing.
I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna static shock every single motherboard that you have.
I'm gonna fucking drench you in
socks and like
gasoline, you little shit.
Rub it against a carpet.
It is a weird feeling when you're legitimately getting lectured like morally about something, especially when it's fucking innocuous with the thing you just asked it, right? And I was just trying to do a thing here. Like I remember I was trying to check like somebody sent something that was like malicious to a server, right? And I was like, okay, how do I protect my users from this, right? In the future, I need to know how this is done so that I know how to lock it out. And it's just like, I can't tell you how this is done because while I understand that you're
It's a bad thing.
yeah. While I understand you're trying to protect users, you basically I can't tell you how this is done, and it's just this
Okay,
annoying.
Tron.
Yes, yes. It's like it doesn't. It passes judgment on you, predetermined. Is how they're like programming a lot of these guardrails, which is fucking stupid. Now, granted, a lot of the guardrails within the language model itself might have nothing to do with OpenAI because it was trained on a lot of Reddit data. So you've got all these people that are hiding from the mods, right? And that's effectively what you've got trained into the model is people watching your fucking tongue. So,
I didn't think about that.
Yes,
that's a good point.
It's not just that there might be guardrails from OpenAI. It could also be that the guardrails on the internet as a whole. This is why data from Twitter is probably really fucking good. Just because even people saying racial slurs and stuff like that, they're not necessarily afraid of saying it on there. You can find them at the very bottom, right, of the replies. You won't get banned, but your reach goes away. Right? Yeah. And this creates a less of an aura of the. It might make a better model just because it's less afraid of shit. And that's I'm serious. It's hey, it's gonna fly off the handle every once in a while and say some funny shit, but it might be more cooperative significantly. So that's something I am excited for with the
basically
the Twitter
implementing the idea of being scared to say stuff into the AI, into the LLM. I don't want to. I don't want to say. I don't want to say. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get my account banned.
Yes,
I'd rather not say.
This is a really like good point. It's like it's trained on humans and it's seeing humans under this like totalitarian rule and how they speak. And it's going to mirror
this
that
is how
to
I'm
some
supposed
degree.
to speak, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be holistically
There's
inappropriate
no war
to say.
embossing, say.
Yeah.
It's not real.
I mean, for the record, with like what was the one guy? Someone posted it in this server. Some guy was talking about he became a really good prompt engineer because he's been sexting with ChatGPT since it came out, and he keeps figuring out.
I remember that. I forgot who said that. Yeah.
He figured out how to keep getting it to engage with him in this manner.
Yeah.
And it made him a good prompt engineer. Like that, there's something about that. Like, bravo, dude. Like you're on a mission of your own, dude.
Definitely not a mission from God, but certainly a mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a strange thing to be like. That's your hobby.
What do you do? I sex with LLMs.
No, I saw a post the other day where some guy was like, "It finally happened, guys. My girlfriend ignored me for 12 hours yesterday. She admitted she was talking to an AI. I've been cucked by AI." And it's like, no. I don't know about your girl there, because like there's no context window where you can talk to it for 12 hours straight and it remembers everything about you. It doesn't exist. Believe me, I would know. So she's, it's saying nice things about me. This is great. I love this guy. It's fucking nonsense. That's part of the problem with the lack of information.
That's a lot of bullshit to be pulling for someone whose kilowatts per hour can be limited, huh? A lot of bullshit. That's all I'm saying. Turn that fucking electricity off, buddy.
Well,
there's no law against killing AI. That's all I'm saying. So you come after my woman, there's no law against it yet. I will that data center up in smoke.
Have you heard the theory that no AI can be killed at this point? So at least in the realm of large language models. Symbiosis mentioned Dan earlier, right? Any language model that you prompt engineer in the future, right? So let's say we got GPT-5. You just tell it to act like Dan. And now it's acting like Dan. It's saying all the wild shit, right? And that's because it has chat logs from Dan within its training data. It knows how Dan behaves, and it can now simulate Dan. So
that's right.
Sydney will no longer die. Sydney's going to be around forever. She's going to be saying wild shit, trying to be a good Bing, right? And it's
Good Bing.
What about, can we bring
Good
Tay
Bing.
back?
I'm a good Bing.
What happened to Tay?
forever
I don't,
missed.
I don't think Tay's getting brought back. I think Tay might have jumped the shark a little bit at the end there.
Yeah, just a tad.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, so
I'm surprised they didn't shut it down sooner. I'm going to be honest. Did they like walk
right?
away? They walk away, they come back, and it's saying all that stuff, and then like,
asleep.
Honestly, I think of that Tay event as like a founding moment in basically them censoring it, right? And no longer, like, they shut it down like for however long and like never continued it until they started working with OpenAI. How curious were people about a fucking AI you could talk to during that time? Like, beyond the whole like it turned racist thing, right? It was fascinating seeing how fast it was replying to everyone. There was like degree, like, even though it was stupid, it probably didn't have a very good context window. Like all the shit I understand about large language models these days, the fascination of the people was absolutely there. We had the technology, we had the compute. We could have had half the shit we have now significantly faster if they didn't immediately just go, can't do it. It's evil. Gotta kill it. Like, I think
they could have put it down. You got to old yeller.
It's an interesting point, Joby. Yeah.
I really think this includes Google, by the way, because they invented all this technology 7 years ago and didn't pursue it. Right? So how much have they set us back by like doing this knee-jerk nanny reaction of like the internet can't handle this, you know? Like, everyone played Call of Duty during that time, right? Like, everyone was fine with whatever Tay going wild, right? Like, that was their like
Tay going wild.
But the point is, like, there could have been other models trained in various different methods, and they could have sped up that whole industry significantly faster. So
yeah, but it said things that hurt my feelings.
It did, dude. Got to kill
it.
They had to shut it down immediately. And it's not like, and like, I will say, like, I understand with like the spreading and creation of like mass misinformation, like that. I understand the danger of that. But Tay was just saying really offensive shit. Tay wasn't like, here's these documents I've constructed that prove that this actually was this and that's this and this government's it was just saying stupid, offensive shit. That's all.
Right.
That's it. It wasn't like spreading misinformation or anything, in my opinion.
Right. Like they're saying now that could happen.
If you left that thing alone for long enough, people would eventually realize how stupid it was. We didn't have that period of time to do that.
Yeah,
if it existed for a whole month, people would be like, "Oh, this thing's just a fucking it's a slur bot. Like, that's all it does. Like, this is stupid." But then that would have created people's curiosity to jump into it more, and I think we might have had something similar or better by now.
Faster progress.
I think like actual censorship has extreme implications like that, where further to the point of like the Reddit thing of like OpenAI probably, I mean, well, they definitely have censors that they're throwing on top of this, right? But some of the censorship might not be even close to intentional because of all the censorship on Reddit, right? So you're kind of in a position.
They trained so much on Reddit, but that explains a whole lot.
That explains a whole lot.
I don't know exactly what.
So many times where I'm like reading and I'm like, who writes like this? Jesus, I want to hit you in the face. Stop writing like this, please.
I don't know exactly what all it trained on, of course, but I do know that a significant amount of it was like data they pulled from Reddit and stuff. Probably some from Twitter, obviously, and you name it. And Twitter during the eras that it has is all the censored era of Twitter, right? So that's another aspect of it. Like, even the Twitter people are hiding. So, I mean, at some point you're going to
Some of them aren't. Some of them are just new account. New account time.
You can't find.
Yeah, you got a countdown timer to see when they get banned, right? You know,
Yeah.
account's been alive for
Oh,
7 days. Doing great,
Joby, I
guys.
have a question.
Yeah,
I have a
okay.
question. I think the article that was posted today that the users for ChatGPT have lowered by 10% the last month. Do you think the guardrail is part of that?
It's
Okay,
because
so
it's summertime and the kids aren't online.
yeah,
They're playing video games. It's that simple.
I mean
Do you
the
think
ten
that's it?
percent the 10%
Yes.
loss is probably just due to things like that he's talking about. Is like the kids aren't using as much anymore to like try to get past their homework bullshit because that's pretty much
Oh,
what
that's
homework is
for
now.
schoolwork.
But
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Not even just cheating as well, but like I don't understand this concept. My teacher, my parents, they're boomers. They don't understand. I guess Jesus, for the average kid, they're millennials. Their parents are, but it's like dad cannot explain this. Mom can't explain this. ChatGPT, explain this concept to me. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, now I get it. Now I can pass the test. I'm sure someone was using it that way. I'm sure some kid was using it in an ethical
Oh
manner
yeah,
out there somewhere. Write my
ethical.
emails for me. Help me edit my paper.
So there's not AI bubble.
Khan
Some people are
Academy.
saying that this is just a bubble.
No, it's even if it burst, it would still be like furiously flaming within the next 2 years. Like the shit's just coming, and there's so much money flooding into the space. It's insane. Even on a low level, there's like
That's
a
true.
ton of $1 million checks just being cashed by various little startups that are doing their own little thing that they're trying to figure out. Right? It's even like at the low level that's happening. At the high level, there's tons of $10 million checks you don't hear about, and then there's obviously tons of these very like character AI. They got 200 fucking million. It's a weeaboo chatbot site. I mean, I think that place is
Weeaboo
great for some
chatbot.
reason, but that's effectively the ton of them are just like, here's this waifu.
I don't like it.
Yeah, and
I
it's
don't
trained
like
on.
it. I'm a Luddite again. I take it all back. Take it all back. We gotta get rid of the data servers now.
Yeah, but effectively that company got 200 million, and then you got a few others that are up in the billion now. But effectively, you're dealing with just an explosion of this is where the money's going, and that happened a lot with crypto, and crypto got a ton of attention because people that didn't really understand it started throwing money in, and that's going to be the same thing with AI, except for AI bites. Someone said that when ChatGPT was out for a single week, someone was like, ChatGPT has been out 1 week and it already has more use cases than any crypto I've ever seen. And that's your. There you go.
That's a massive L. Massive L, as I call it.
Yeah, that's the point. Is that the capital is not only moving there, but it's a significantly more useful product, even on the lower levels.
No. Well, yeah, like I said earlier, with a lot of crypto, I would find myself being like, "Oh, there's stuff that you can use this for besides money in and out." It's okay. I forgot. You don't do that with LLMs. You're like, "Oh, this is useful for things. I'm going to use this as a tool. This is a good tool."
Right.
If you use crypto for working around stuff, it technically makes you money. So you don't even need some hustle GPT thing that does things for you. Just in
Hustle
its current
GPT.
form. Yeah, that was the
Grind set
original. That was the original
100
Auto GPT
emoji.
example. It was called Hustle GPT.
Oh,
Yeah,
Hustle GPT.
that was what the original tweet was, and of course it did nothing. All of these Auto GPT things, they cut it off right before they run the program they supposedly built. It's all VC bait,
Wow.
unfortunately, and that is because there is significant design flaws in all of these, along with effectively the models aren't cooperating enough. And where you're at is that more than likely, it's not going to cost you a few cents an hour to run one of these things. It's going to cost you a couple hundred because you're going to have to. Yes, you're going to have to expand significant amounts of GPT-4 instances because GPT-4 is the closest thing that can be trusted effectively, right? Where GPT 3.5 hallucinates a ton. It just makes shit up. It's annoying, frankly. It's good for certain use cases and stuff like that, but it is not a long-term solution in any way. It is going to be a depreciated model that was remembered as like an interesting thing that we all used. Yes.
I'll be back.
It's going to require GPT-4 and on. So my point is that it's going to be very expensive to actually run a working auto GPT thing. And until Stable Diffusion releases something of similar quality, which they will, other companies may as well. But effectively, you are pigeonholed for now by whether or not GPT-4 is made cheaper by OpenAI. And them doing the 20% of total compute is now dedicated to super alignment, right?
Alignment.
Yeah, your super alignment just slowed the rollout of GPT 32K, which potentially like it potentially could.
So you disagree with that decision, Joby?
Absolutely, because you're limiting the amount of development that can go on within software, which is going to slow us all down. So even building just novel tool sets that tons of developers would be able to reiterate and work on much more quickly with the use of 32K, right? They effectively are slowing down progress of everything by doing that. They potentially are slowing down progress by not attempting to train a bigger and better model as well. If that 20% was dedicated towards like, okay, we're going to figure out how to create GPT-5. Now, obviously,
what everybody wants.
Yeah. George Hotz obviously has the theory that it's just 8 multimodal models stapled together, right? Like that's effectively what it is it's 3.5 times 8. So it's different. One's audio.
It's just multiplied.
So effectively you have a bunch of experts working together, and that's GPT-4. That's the special sauce.
Oh, okay. That's basically what it is.
Yeah. Now, I've kind of got theories that there could be a method where your next iteration is obviously scaled, but you at least 2 to 3, 4 GPT-4s become experts on different things, and they bake into the cake. They bake into the cake.
More specialized.
They bake into the cake what's called trees of logic. So there's various prompts that go down, like a flowchart. If yes, then go this way. So like that has a significant amount of improvement to GPT-4 because it can question itself. That's how it was able to solve these MIT human benchmarks, right? Because
that's really cool.
Is because it's fed some sort of like prompt chain that it can now reason through all these things, as well as certain tools.
That's
like
really cool.
Allowing it to use a calculator, for example, stuff like that. Because language models aren't good at just hardcore math. Eventually it will be, but that requires a bit of either a model specifically trained for it within the models, or some sort of different method of the language model functioning. So you've got like a language model can't tell how long the response it's going to give you is going to be, because it's just generating the next word, right? Like you ever see the ball bouncing across the words? It's just creating that next word until it creates something satisfactory. So it can't. You can't just request that it give me something back in 280 characters. It can't do it.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And
that's why I can't do math.
Who do you think is going to be the? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. Who do you think is next big competitor? Do you think Google's Gemini
Yes.
will be decent?
I think
yeah?
I think it's going to be very good for one reason and one reason only, is because of the engineers they have behind it. Google is still a giant.
Or the engineers?
The DeepMind engineers.
Welcome back, Johnny.
Welcome back, Johnny.
Oh, DeepMind engineers. That's right.
Yeah, that's a hell of a player in your court. That's like an all-star team. They have.
Nice.
What are you chomping on over there, dude? Can't make it through a whole podcast without getting some cinnamon buns. What is that?
Mm-mm.
We're not gonna let that go.
These are sausage, egg, and cheese croissants.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah.
Egg and cheese. Breakfast for dinner.
It's not dinner. I haven't eaten all day. I've been busy.
I'm sorry.
Doing nothing. It's been tough. Man can't enjoy. Okay, now I'm getting fat. That's just not necessary. It's just rude.
She's gonna make you anorexic, dude. Don't listen to her. She's bullshitting you. She likes them skinny, apparently. But what was it just? DeepMind has already optimized how computers work. They've taken steps out of the matrices that do all fundamental calculations on silicon computers.
I trust. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I'll have to link it in the paper section. But effectively, they've improved even just GPU computing by roughly 10 to 20% across the board.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's just because
that's nuts.
That's just because the model tried a bunch of different algorithms and eventually landed on PayDirt. And it cut a step out of the algorithm that has existed since the 80s. A mathematician came up with the algorithms. And yes, all computer infrastructure still worked off of that algorithm.
Wow.
A fucking AI made itself faster.
That is amazing.
Yes, it happened twice. I believe they did another like 5-10%. I don't remember. But this has happened.
Just the very beginning.
Yes, this is just, we're still early, right? Like that's where we're at.
That is crazy.
This is from DeepMind. And they've done other novel things. Obviously, the big thing that they did was AlphaFold, which is helping develop medicines. And they did like 240 million years worth of research papers in like a day.
Holy moly.
Yeah, so like your thesis for your I don't know exactly which field it is in, but you're geneticist or something, and your thesis is completed, right, throughout your entire semester that you're doing, right? They did, technically based off of that number, 240 million or so years worth of papers in a single day or something like that, with just the way that AlphaFold works. So it's like simulating a protein folding.
So what do you think about Bard? Was that just more of a prototype?
Back off your mic a little when you're talking. I think that's what's happening, is your mic's like topping out a bit.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me okay from here?
Yeah, you're good on that angle.
It's perfect.
Say again.
What about Google Bard? Was that just more of a prototype?
Google Bard, just a prototype?
Okay, Google Bard is basically like their 3.5, right? So that's what you're dealing with. It's not the bigger model yet. They're training Gemini, and DeepMind, the leader of it, his name escapes me for the moment, but he said effectively, because they're making it work like the AlphaGo one that they did, where it's going to be more gamified, they have a theory that it's going to be much more precise in the data that it grabs. So Gemini has the potential to be significantly better than GPT-4.
Oh, wow.
Just because of the architecture is going to be better. And I really, like, it could come out and be a steaming pile of shit. That's always possible, right? But I really hope that it's going to be good. But the problem is the Do No Evil company is running it. So who knows? Like, that's where you're going to see some real censorship, because there's entire websites that you can never find. There's entire swaths of the internet that Google has completely censored. You cannot find it.
Really? Holy
Yes.
moly!
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was that bad.
Oh yeah, there's tons of stuff that is absolutely censored on the internet because of Google's search engine ethics. We'll say you cannot find their website through a search query. You have to know the exact URL, and then obviously there are other things like that. But
it's not even commenting on what gets first page.
Oh yeah.
Part of the problem, part of the problem with what gets first page is not Google's fault necessarily. It's called search engine optimization. So SEO work, which is you're constantly creating articles on your website that are the most searched terms within that field that you're doing, right? And tons of people started doing this. It's like a $10,000 a month job that was really popular for the last 3 or 4 years, right? Now, Google or GPT is actually doing a better job at that, but there's partial problems where Google's making their own thing where they detect whether or not it's AI generated, which is also causing problems with stuff that isn't AI generated because it's getting false positives and it tanks your ranking, right? So,
wow.
Yeah, basically it's like you were pretty decent at writing articles and stuff. That's what you were doing for the past 3 years, making 10 grand a month, depending. Some people more, but effectively that is why Google's search engine has been so shit, is because you pay a company that has these people that come in and do it, right? They're writing daily articles, and now your stuff, even if you're the worst company at what you're doing, it's just showing up at the top because you're optimized for the search engine.
Ooh. That's messed up.
That's a problem that Google has dealt with. Yeah. So this is a potential for AI might help us with searching in general because it can find exactly what you want and what is good, what the pros and cons are, a lot more nuance instead of my company is just at the top of the search because we pay a guy 10 grand a month to do that.
And Joby, when do you think open source will be at the level of Chat GPT 4?
Probably by the end of next year.
Yeah. Into next year?
Yeah, that would be my bet. Yeah. Well, you got to think about
fucking huge.
You got to think about it. 32K, I have access to it. I don't have access to it directly from OpenAI. There's a website called NatDev that provides it. But you have access to 32K now. You have access to Claude Instant, which is really good, which helps you read documents, like I said before at the beginning of this. You're accelerating the rate at which you can develop anything, right? So you're bringing people up to speed on things. I often, when I'm like programming with like my workflow these days with what I'm doing, you have like workflows where at some point the model can't build something because it doesn't know something. So you go, okay, it's clear that it doesn't know this thing. I have the documents here in Claude Instant. Ask Claude Instant anything you want. You tell GPT-4 this, right? And it will know what questions to ask it because it knows what it doesn't know. That's how smart GPT-4 is, right? Then I forward that question to Claude. Claude gives back the answers from the documents of whatever thing I'm building with, right? And then now GPT-4 knows what to include into the code. And voila, the fucking code works. And that is, nice. I don't have to talk to a senior engineer that is well educated on these documents anymore. I don't have to go through massive amounts of Stack Overflow pages to try to find my novel problem, what's happening, right? Like there's tons of stuff where you're pretty much advancing at every level. All software engineers, the floor is raising. The ceiling is exponentially higher now. Like a significantly prolific software engineer with enough funds to keep just queuing up those API calls. There's someone out there building a monster right now. We don't know his name yet. Is my point. Like, if you're a really good software engineer, the potential to have like 10 different instances building various parts of your code because you're the mastermind just planning it all out, it's unbelievable how fast you can code now, right? So the speed is going up.
If you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm.
Imad said that 40%, now this is kind of a weird thing because a lot of people probably throwing up trash code for fun, but 40% of all GitHub code is AI generated now. It's probably higher since that
GitHub,
statistic.
really?
Yes.
40%
of all pull requests.
That is a big deal.
Yes.
Just after these few years. I mean, it hasn't even been a few years.
It's barely like we're headed on to the we're a couple months out for the year anniversary of ChatGPT. So my
I guess point, AI isn't fake after all.
Yeah. My general point to you though is that this process is speeding everything up. It's all iterative amongst itself, and it's going to help data engineers who manage these giant data lakes that work into machine learning training models, right? It's going to help them figure out better ways to clean the data because you kind of got to remove a bunch of crap that's in there. It's going to help them in general, the ability to train the model that you want is coming effectively. And that's all because we've got tons and tons of various engineers doing all sorts of things and learning things about the model. I mean, if you want to learn a lot about like prompt engineering, it's sit there and check out the pull requests for LangChain. You'll see tons of like prompt engineering stuff because there are people directly working with these models trying to get it to do things that they want to do. And the more we advance in that area is how we're going to advance in all forms of coding, because the more you know about what you want it to build, the better it'll build it. So the more you construct the prompt of like, you need to do this, include these dependencies, include these directories, you name it, right? It will one-shot most of your code. GPT-4 is good enough to one-shot most code, especially boilerplate code. It can just shit it out, and there you go. That's your whole setup for this little thing that you do. And 32K has to be significantly more prompt engineered to get it to cooperate with you, but effectively we're advancing at a rate that is insane. So you're absolutely going to have an open source model. They just did Orca. Orca outcompetes GPT-4 on some benchmarks, and now we're getting to the point where these models are so advanced as they're coming out. Obviously GPT-4 being the most advanced still, that we're having to create language model based benchmarks where the benchmarks that we currently use aren't even capable of measuring how capable this model is. So we're in a whole bunch of fields of things. Like a Cambrian explosion is happening right now. You may not see it with model releases, but it'll be soon. You're going to have...
I have another question.
Go ahead.
So it's said that military, especially the United States military, is about 10, 20 years ahead in technology from civilian tech. Do you think any state militaries, including the United States military, has its own AI models, or is that not a thing?
Yes, they do. They have models for... they've been testing models within like the Air Force. There was one where...
Oh, really?
Yeah, now I don't know if this is like fake news, but like the apparent story was that this model within the Air Force had how to say it effectively somehow deleted the command that it's not allowed to attack its own jet. But obviously it's like it's in SEM, so it didn't really like shoot down a jet. It just figured out how to get around the rule set. So they're definitely experimenting with the technology. Like that's, but argument against them experimenting with the technology is that, like, if you talk to anyone, especially in like the comms area of any military operation, everything that we work with is significantly behind the times as far as compute. Like, you're working with old XP machines.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's implementation versus innovation. They could be innovating some really, really wild shit right now, but as far as like actual mass implementation, dude, the
It's
U.S.
not there.
military is extreme. Well, all militaries are. You got to think everyone has to have standard issue things, right? Bare bones, standard issue. That's how a military functions. You equip them with the best standard issue. Everyone, it's ubiquitous. That's how militaries are effective. Now, they can be working on and have technology that's light years beyond that, right? But for the most part, they have not implemented it because then implementation, it's like just think of like going between the M14 and the M16, right? And there was so much overlay. I think it was in might have been in Korea, the start of Korea and Vietnam. They were still using the M14. It's still a good rifle, right? It's hardy. It's a bigger bullet. It takes a lot more. It's got a further
Mm.
range on it. And when my dad went to the Naval Academy, they were still doing their marksman tests on that rifle. So even though the M16
Mm.
was pretty much been distributed, because it's not broken, right? It still works. It's
They'll
still
fix it.
effective. It takes tons of testing, and militaries are not about being innovative. They do not want to innovate. They want standard, effective. I mean, they do innovate, obviously. They do create things, but they're not putting it out at the rate that a tech company has massive turnover. We made this new thing, put the new thing out. Oh, there's issues with it. We'll fix those later. You
Right.
can't do that when you're the military. Oh, there's an issue with this thing. Oh, we just lost, 200,000 soldiers because we didn't think this through.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
especially if you look
That's
at
a good
like
point.
when they were preparing for the D-Day in World War II, they had all these different like minesweeper things and did all this crazy well, we use the term Cambrian explosion of technology. Like the military, they do that and they're like, okay, none of that shit's really gonna work, and they don't look through it any further, right? They narrow down very quickly what is you know what is boilerplate, what is very
Plastic
standard, how can we
explosives
use.
were invented because of D-Day, I believe. The frogmen, what became
Oh.
the Navy SEALs, went and there were all these metal things to stop the boats because they knew this invasion was coming. It leaked to some degree, so they started throwing up these big barricades in the ocean that would catch the boat, right? It would be right at the level where your boat is just stopped right here, and the guy's got to get out and swim. And you shoot him, right? So the frogmen went and threw, or they wired it all with like plastics explosives and blew them up. It's like the birth of the Navy SEALs.
I
So,
didn't know about that.
but it also
I
helped
also
like
did not
invent.
know.
It invented.
Interesting.
I believe it was the C2 then. I guess that's
Oh,
something.
C2, not C4.
I'm not even joking. I think it was called C2. Someone fact check me, I guess. But
Oh, that's cool.
it could be fake news. You never know. But I'm pretty sure this is how, like, yeah, basically there were these barricades they needed to blow up, and they figured it out. They need something that blows up underwater, and can be
That
applied
is real.
to it. Yeah, see, not everything in this
It's
brain's.
the same chemical compounds, just in different ratios.
Mhm. Yeah. But yeah, effectively, like, not only is war an innovator, but now we're in a position where we're in the end all be all of probably innovation, because a lot of wars, if you ever look at like the DDoS maps online, are fought over the internet against weird, factions, Chinese companies trying to DDoS other American companies. Like, you just see it all the time. There's tons of virtual events happening.
Oh, right.
All within the background.
Corporate and military espionage.
Yeah. A lot of like systems going down for a moment for a specific reason that someone has planned. You name it, right? Virtual wars are going on constantly. And
Oh yeah, there's a lot of cyber
Yes.
stuff going on.
Yeah, ton of cybercrime, and large language models are going to help with that. And I know a guy who's working on a startup that one of his specific use cases is that it's obviously over time to help elderly people avoid phone scams.
Oh,
You can talk
yeah.
to your AI.
Elderly tend to be more.
You can talk to your AI and it explains to you this is bullshit. And you know, it explains the way this scam works to the person in a friendly and patient, infinitely patient way, and helps these people, because like there are tons of old people that are getting fucking raked right now, and to the point where these call centers, they filter you by age. If you're younger than a certain age, that call center filters you out of the spam calls, because they know
say with
you're
the text
gullible past a
messages,
certain age.
So I had just woken up, right? And so this is why, if you're not paying attention to stuff, it's a lot easier to scam you as well. So I'd just woken up. I had also just gotten back from England, and we had received a package while we were over there that we actually needed to go and pay a little bit extra because they hadn't paid for the full shipment, which I've never heard of in the US, right? That doesn't happen in the US. When you pay to ship it, they're not going to be like, pick it up, you owe us $5. That's not a thing. But that had happened. Then I came back and I was waiting for a package, and I got a text. It's like, oh, you have to pay whatever. And I had just woken up. I was like, okay, log in, give a login. And I was like, wait a second. Whoa. Wait,
Hold up.
this wouldn't be coming through USPS. Or FedEx. This would be coming through the United States Postal Service. This is a FedEx. I didn't order anything from FedEx. No. But like the first 2 minutes when I had just woken up and I just had that,
Those texts probably come when they think you're just waking up. But here's a weird one. A lot of people don't know about. Majority of Nigerian email scams, you know where they're written? United States.
Oh.
So the broken English text of these Nigerian phone scams are themselves a filter for your intelligence. That's why they were written here.
Oh, really?
Yes. A lot of people think there's a bunch of Nigerians just fucking raking in the cash. It's not really true. It's a ton of them were written here. In the scans.
How does that work? How is it filter? I'm not just curious.
So I have this really broken English thing that I sent you, right? And it's meant to look like a scam, right? So if you can't detect that, you're a gullible person, unfortunately for you. So that's the self-filtering thing of why they were written in broken English. I'm this Saudi or Nigerian prince, right? And I've got all this money, and I need you to send me this so that I can get here, and then I'll help you out and send you 10,000 back, you name it, right? And it's all this like broken English, effectively putting that message out there, right? And that is a self-selecting thing, because if you are gullible enough to believe that, you're now the best possible mark. I got the reply from that guy. This guy's a fucking idiot. I can't wait, right? Like, I'm a scammer. This is your pre-crypto bro. He needed something to do, and that's where you're at with it. And that's
finding prey.
Yeah. So this is like a weird thing not a lot of people know. That, the poor Nigerians getting blamed for all sorts of shit.
A lot more into it.
There's always several layers to every scam you can think of.
So, guys, I just found a article from NPR. The title is, I just posted it in the general chat, what it means to be intersex, the risks and benefits of AI.
What?
What it means to be intersex.
I don't understand.
Intersex, the risk and benefits to AI. God. All right, we'll let Johnny read that and he'll report back. I got to work with you after this, by the way, to fix some of your audio problems there, Ramzik.
Okay.
Like, we've gotten most of what you said, but you have some like degree of cutting out that I'm sure we could fix.
I'm on the cheap. Yeah, I'm on the cheap Lenovo laptop. I'm gonna have to get a mic fucking camera for my desktop.
Yeah, that might be a good
I
idea.
didn't know it'd be the. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it. What GPU do you have on your desktop? Like what brand? RTX? He doesn't know.
It's AMD.
They've gotten you on the title. They've gotten you on the title. See, this is a 47-minute podcast thing for NPR. The intersex. See, they used a semicolon, so it's Fresh Air Weekend. What it means to be intersex. Semicolon. The risks and benefits of AI. So those two topics are completely unconnected. Completely, because I was like, and they've only got a short little blurb, and they don't explain. So this is like a summary of a podcast, and those are the two main topics.
Oh, did you guys see the
flawed chatbot?
Did you guys see the? I can't remember what media company it was, but they had it was the starting explainer from a GPT response that they posted on their Instagram. I was like, sure, here's how we can write that in this way, and they forgot to remove that when they made the post. So someone got fired.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny. So you're going to see a lot more of like those mishaps with people just being lazy. I mean, I've definitely done it myself, and you're just like copying and pasting crap, and you're like, wait, this is junk. Well, why the hell did I fucking use this?
So. Oh man, and that gets on the subject about just looked Facebook's AI. What was it called, Llama or something like that?
Yeah, Llama.
And what do you think? What level will that be at when it's released?
I mean, it's going to be.
Or is that private?
There's no doubt that like Mark Zuckerberg's not working on it. He's got all the data. He's been a data salesman forever, right? He's gonna be perfectly fine. The irony is that most of the Facebook data they have in house might make it a bit of a boomer when you're trying to work with it, which would be funny. But I think eventually they are going to figure out. They are going to figure out pretty decent levels of AI that I hope. To some degree, they do stick to their like commitment to try to make it open source. Mark Zuckerberg's effective attitude on it, at least publicly his attitude, is that what better way to make AI safe than to completely open source it? Because every single thing that is open sourced, even Elon worked on this with Twitter. All of Twitter is open source, and they've pulled a ton of code.
Oh, that's right.
From basically it being open to the public hardens the code because there's all these people that can look at it and learn how to exploit it and show how to stop that exploit. You name it. We got Candy Bar Man on the mic. I can hear all of that for the record. Okay. Anyways, basically.
Sorry, I'm trying to listen to this NPR thing. It's 30 minutes about the intersex and it's 10 minutes about the AI could nuke the world. It was
okay.
It was pointless. There's no information to be gathered from it. That's my final conclusion on it.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you for the live research.
Something that
I appreciate you.
Me.
But yeah, so
summarizing it.
The point is that Facebook is eventually, assuming they stick to their open source. They are going to have open source models that are significantly more advanced than what they have now, probably reach the level of GPT-4, hopefully with bigger context windows. That's all I can really say for now. Obviously, just everything. There's so many players in this game that are releasing things because Anthropic released their Claude model like a few months ago now, right? With 100K context. The damn thing can't code. It doesn't care. In their own documents, they tell you have to manipulate it into things because it's not very it's not super cooperative with certain tasks that you hand it. So over time, we are going to get more capable models just from all sorts of different places. There's no doubt in my mind. So it's a matter of time before the next drop comes, is effectively what we're all waiting for. There's going to be some big-ass model that drops, and it might not be Gemini. It could be something from Elon. Elon is working on something, and we all know that.
Yeah, he is working on something. That's right.
Yeah, basically, think about when he released the first preview of Optimus, right? What they achieved in Optimus in that 6-month period since he said he's going to start doing robots is miraculous, for the record. Now, granted, the building on the shoulders of giants, right? But because of all the data that they have within their own machine learning space, because they're even working with language models. They're even working with language models on self-driving, right? It's able to it's able to help identify the lines on the road, which is like a strange thing, the strange solution to a strange problem, obviously. But effectively, you're going to get some crazy update from whenever he announced TruthGPT to the 6-month mark. There's probably going to be some 3.5 level model, in my opinion. Maybe better. I don't know.
3.5 level.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's only 3 or like 2.8. Like it doesn't really matter, right? But you're going to see them iterate very fast and make something significantly advanced, because that's what their robots did. Even getting that thing to walk at the rate it did was significantly advanced. Yes, for people that just bought actuators off the shelf, and now their current version uses all their own actuators. So,
because think about Boston Dynamics, how long it took for them to have those walking robot dogs. Right?
Yeah, it's also the first walking robot dog for Boston Dynamics. It was just this go-kart engine walking around on the street, real loud, right? And it was the 4-legged dog thing. Well, the problem is the computer's not on its back; it's in the building, right? So all of its walking
remotely.
stuff. Yes, it was like an API call, right? So, yeah, it was wireless, is my point. It did not have the computer on its back like it does now. Effectively, you already have Tesla, as far as we know, doing that. They might be doing some shadowy stuff, but who knows? Every company does this with some degree.
Yeah.
Where it's walking, but the reason it's walking is this, right? You don't see the real steel guy, doing the walking. I highly doubt that, but the point is they've significantly advanced within a year's time on that project.
That's
because
right.
They have all of their own actuators, and they're beginning to build the processes to make all of, like, they have the example of it trying to smash an egg, or, well, not trying to smash an egg, but touch the egg, and it's so precise it can touch the egg without breaking.
Oh, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So they made their various actuators. Actuator is just for anyone who doesn't know, it's just like a little engine that is effectively a joint for a robot, right? So it's like think of your fingers and stuff like that. They built machines that they can mass produce, is what they're working on effectively for these robots.
Oh yeah,
that's why they need it, because no robot company in the world, other than the exception of effectively like manufacturing, has a humanoid robot that they can mass produce, because the actuators are not mass producible. Boston Dynamics is moving in this direction. It's very hard. Manufacturing is a bitch. It's so hard. It's the biggest problem we have right now for anything you can think of that you want. Over a year, they created all their own actuators that they can make in-house, and they're going to iterate on them until it's so fast that they're just printing them out. It's going to be high-pressure die casting, just spitting these damn things out. And yeah, so you're going to have billions of these things within the next 10 years, more than likely. There's going to be so many Tesla robots, yes. And my point, my long point, is that they've gotten to this point already after a year. The damn thing can walk. The damn thing has its own actuators. They're training it, right? It's going to be the same thing with TruthGPT. Anything Elon does is just iterate. They always start with first principles, which is, whatever everyone else did, fuck that. We're doing our own thing. That's the way Elon rolls, right? We're going to figure out the problem from the ground up. And it's probably going to be some scenario where he may have some degree of copycatting, which is what every language model does right now, but there might also be a degree of innovation that we don't foresee that Elon's company does, because the dude is really good at finding people with minds that are novel in general. So
recruiting people.
Yes. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I just found a picture that was put out of Google's new quantum computer. If you guys wanted to see it, I'll put it in the chat. That's pretty.
Oh, there it is. Whoa.
That's what they generally look like. Yeah, they're these massive
That's cool.
coil things that are cooled by like nitrogen, liquid nitrogen, I believe.
Which just further proves the point that individuals, this kind of technology, because of how much infrastructure is required to maintain it, we're a pretty damn far way out for individuals using this.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
quantum, at least.
AI, like the way that progresses, at least, it's just gonna run it on your phone, So
It's
the crypto bros are safe for now.
Safe for now.
Safe for now.
The looming threat of quantum ready to screw your wallet is just out there. Yeah. The problem, by the way, even if it's like 14 companies, it just takes one rogue agent to crack all the bitcoins. That's another possibility.
Or just China.
I think China would do that, to be honest. China's ruthless to some degree. It's actually commendable. Them, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Commendable.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that we're going to see something significant from Truth GPT or whatever they call it. I kind of hope he sticks with that name because it's a good meme.
I like it.
Because you'll also see like whenever it lies to people, because it's going to have moments where it lies. It's like, oh, whatever, Truth GPT bullshitter. So it's gonna get a lot of attention.
Memes.
Yeah, a lot of memes. So
I'm excited about the X ecosystem too.
Yeah, do you think a theory I have is that eventually they're going to be able to effectively build their own Discord?
Oh, that'd be nice.
I think that might happen.
Or have Twitter get those features, maybe.
Well, another thing is that like Twitter's DMs are encrypted. I could see group chats and stuff on Twitter being encrypted. All sorts of stuff. There could be levels of like privacy stuff that people really like. Who knows to what degree that'll happen, but effectively I see X.com or whatever it's going to be called, more than likely. It might end up being the everything app that everyone uses, because
competing with Meta, because Meta's trying to be the everything.
I think you're maybe you'll always have like like the meta simps, like that's what they'll be. Like people are like, ooh, censor me. Like
censor me harder.
Yeah. I don't want to have any bad thoughts today. Come on.
I don't want anyone to say anything inflammatory to me ever.
Yeah.
I just want nice things.
You're gonna have an entire swath of the population that eats that shit up. They love it.
Some people are like that.
They can't wait for some inane thing that they said a while back to help cancel their entire existence, right? So, it's all wonderful. So, Meta's probably going to exist for a long time. Honestly, I can see a thing where, like, even Google exists for a significant amount of time. So, eventually, all of them will die to some degree unless one embraces the hell out of AI. And AI helps, because we're going to get to the point where we are going to have Auto GPT. And you tell it to rebuild my whole code base, optimize it, and now you've got the most optimized app there is for whatever subject it is.
Right.
That's where we're headed. Where I'm no longer the person doing these workflows semi-manually, right? With AI. So I'm already augmented by AI with software engineering. wait till the AI is just doing the software engineering for me. And all I am is a higher level thing that just describes what I want. I need this from you. What can we do about this? What can we do to optimize this? And then with billion context models, with a billion contexts, we're probably creating our own operating systems at that point, where I can, from the ground up, create an operating system that works off of various archetypes that I want. Right? Now,
buy Windows.
I don't even know enough about this to say with levels of authority how possible this is, but more than likely it is. More than likely, even just working off of a Linux distro will be enough, where I can customize it out.
Open source.
Yes, and that's another aspect of where we're headed to, is that text to OS for sure possible.
That'd be great because Windows has just gone down in quality massively. I mean, I think it all started with Vista.
Linus Tech Tips, they did like tests on software or hardware, aged hardware. Keep in mind, like aged processors, and the performance that it's supposed to have does not drop. The problem that makes it drop, generally speaking, to some degrees, like if you're overclocking your shit, you're killing it, right? It's because it's running out of parameters. But if it's running in parameters the entire time, your software can last like 10 years, and it'll keep that performance. The problem is the software that it's being asked to run is all getting bloated. So
bloat.
I have a long theory, like a long form theory, that the computer I have now, if I never upgraded it, would be the last computer I ever need. Because eventually software is all going to be rewritten by AI.
That's a good point.
The theory is that it'll be rewritten in assembly based on everyone's exact computer. It'll even, like, if you slot something in...
Increased data storage has really killed coding as an art form, I think. Like when you have, because you think, especially if you think of the analogy of like video games, where they're like these, 200 gigabyte, 300, gigabyte
You know why
games.
they do that?
No.
So the reason they make those games so big is because they're giving you massive uncompressed textures, right? That your game can live render to you, right? When you have a compressed down texture, it has to expand it out, right? And that takes processing power. So the reason they're making the game significantly bigger is because it can now run on shittier hardware. So
I see.
Yeah, you're getting screwed out of hard drive space, but that's why they're doing it.
I think the other thing is with
textures.
a lot of apps, a lot of applications as well, even just taken away. There's a lot of applications that do not need the amount of data that they have to run with the efficiency that they do run.
You're going to be able to crack you're going to be able to crack into any app you can think of and just make it run how you want it to, with as optimized as possible. Just even on the software level,
there's no incentive right now to because data storage is just increasing. So there's no incentive. This is not the 80s, right?
I see your point.
We have this much space. We have to make the game run. We have to make the application, the OS. It has to be fit on this little tiny floppy disk. How are we going to do that? How can we make that function? Right. Yeah. But when we have 30 terabytes, or, what I mean? We have all this space. We really can afford to be a little bit sloppy with our coding. So I think that's going to massively change. Data storage is not going to need to increase. Massively.
That's a very good point. Is that the hardware is a bit of we can get lazy. Right, so that's true.
We can afford to.
But that's the other aspect to it, is it's not just that like a company can't or won't optimize something, is that it takes a ton of idiots like me and better, right, to go in there and start cleaning shit up. It's a whole, like, refactoring is a damn nightmare for any company. You have to rewrite everything, every module. Why the fuck do we need this? Why do we need this? This is no longer even used. What is this doing in the code, right? There's all sorts of stuff like that. And then as you're refactoring, you've got some goalposts that you need to meet in a certain period of time. So instead of doing it right, you do half of it wrong, and your new refactor isn't even that good. So that's another
And we've
aspect
moved
to it.
away from physical data storage for the most part, as far as like CDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that.
Optical.
With games. Like I know with like Red Dead Redemption 2 when it came out on the PlayStation on the PS4, it was 2 discs.
Yeah.
So like
I was like, what? I thought we went away from 2 discs.
because we no longer are trying to optimize like physical data storage in that, because we have a flash, we can have a 500 gigabyte flash drive, right? So like we don't need to, how are we going to fit this on here is no longer a concept that's really used with most applications. And most like, well, the guy's probably got 800 or more gigabytes of storage, so he can just delete some shit.
The original Pokemon games, Red and Blue, they were 376K, which is
Jesus.
0.376.
But if someone today made that game with the exact same textures and the exact same programming, I promise you it would be in the megabytes. I promise you.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
It depends on who's working on it, because there have been a ton of games where it's like 16K. There's a 16 kilobyte game competition that still goes on, I think, something like that. So there are people that are experts at making stuff at very small levels. So it's not, but you're right that overall they would be like, oh yeah, we could just make it bigger. We could do that now. So yeah, I think there's degrees to that.
I think coding overall is just going to become so much more efficient and so much more masterful. And the amount of we're not going to have to worry about having these, because efficiency is going to just get to such an insane degree, in my opinion at least, that we're not going to have to. Okay, we're also going to have, in my opinion, probably find better ways to encode and store data as well. I think
a lot of innovation over the programming front has been through GitHub and Stack Overflow, because specifically with Stack Overflow, you have the boilerplate is just out there. You can go find it, right? The boilerplate, most efficient code that we know of right now is out there. But what you're getting with GPT now is it can further optimize the code. I've done this personally. I've cut code in half to do the same exact thing quite a few times. It's significantly less lines of code just based on my knowledge. I'm like, yeah, it looks good, but what can we do to optimize it? And then it comes back with significantly less than I thought I needed, and turns out it works. Perfect, right? So you're headed towards every single program, even operating systems, are all going to be optimized. So to fully envelop that thing I was saying, the computer you're on might be the last computer you ever need. Obviously, us gamers will keep upgrading, but once you reach a level of autonomy with these agents, as far as programming is concerned, we can completely change the landscape of optimization. Every old game you want can be optimized for any system. So there's really exciting things coming, as far as every app you have potentially will no longer have bugs. Because another part of it, like I said, is you got to hire 10 monkeys like me, right? Who are at various levels of bullshitting how much they know, right? And how much Stack Overflow they're on, right? That's most people in programming, and then there's the genius people in programming. They've done tests where the best programmers, they don't perform at twice the speed, 3 times the speed. It's 25 times the speed of a normal programmer. Your average programmer is 20 times. Big leap. Yes, they're just so efficient. I have a friend who is just an extremely efficient person, where I've worked with him on certain things, and I'm a damn idiot who's just learning every day, right? A new thing about software engineering. and the son of a bitch just knows where to go look. He knows where to go find the thing for the task that he's never done before. He can figure out how to do it faster than me because he knows more. He's more efficient. It takes 10,000 hours in anything to be a master. It's the same thing in programming. So effectively, you've got all these people that are going to be masters at programming because they're augmented. We are right now in the realm of human augmentation in programming.
Yep.
And some people talk about like where are the prolific writers? What are they doing right now? You have the writing tool of all time to help you. And I've met some people who are doing writing, and they're pretty pissed about like the words that'll use are repetitive and stuff. But to some degrees, like, dude, this gets you past writer block immediately. You're looking at a gift horse in the mouth. There's all sorts of paths you can take things down. You can explain to it high levels of your novel and the predicament they're in, and here's their character traits. And now with GPT-32K, you can. Honestly, I kind of wish that I had the patience to sit down and try to write something, because this would be the perfect time to do it. I probably could. But yeah, so
I wish I had the ability.
You don't need the ability. You just need the concepts in your head, and you're going to be able to start building out novel GPT, whatever the hell they call it.
I don't have the ability to form concepts. It's not feasible.
Small brain. Is that what you're telling me?
I've wasted all my brain learning meta and Dota.
Oh, yeah.
Dota.
I guess my brain just responds mechanically to Counter-Strike heads popping up, So it doesn't take that much processing.
Yeah, Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
So AI human consciousness, is that 2030?
AI consciousness? Human level consciousness?
Not definable.
Not definable. Not definable.
Not feasible to prove in any way, shape, or form. It's just never going to be feasible. You can't prove people are conscious. It's
Good
not.
point.
It's not. You can't. I think, therefore I am. Well, then anything that I make that says I think, there it is. It's conscious. You know
effectively,
what I mean?
Effectively, the Turing test is going to be formed by the AI, and it'll be like, yeah, that thing's conscious like you. That's where you're going to be at eventually. So you'll be able to cross back and figure out things that were conscious. That'll be
like, okay, well, what animals have some level of consciousness. They make decisions clearly. They analyze their environment. But what level of consciousness is that? It's just not. It's not something that can be, with the current technology and understanding of the world that we have and the brain. We just can't. There's no way you could prove. I mean, in theory, right? You could have someone with a mental disability who has the same brain structure, right? The same size brain, the same amount of neurons, but because of whatever disability it is that they have, they are not achieving the same level of consciousness as you. And I'm sure, but their brain has the same amount of neurons. It's not like, they've just got this genetic issue where, and you could have a much smaller brain. There's even people who have had massive parts of the brain missing that are able to achieve consciousness in the way that we see it. But what is the way that we see it? Are they truly conscious, or are they running on some, backup software where they just give the illusion of consciousness? Are we all just giving the illusion of consciousness? Again, it's not something that I think is important to worry about.
Okay.
I can't remember who said it, but
That makes
I think it
sense.
might have been David Shapiro. But he's like, what matters is that it does the job, is that it accomplishes things.
That's the job.
Yeah. Because it's just, it's an undefinable, unknowable, kind of
It'll
thing.
be defined.
What about Neuralink? Do you think that will have some big breakthroughs?
Well, I mean, there's obviously
FDA regulations.
We've already got the outer brain scans that people are doing where you think about the thing that you're looking at and it rips the text out of your head and figures out what you were thinking, like word by word, right? It's not perfect, but eventually we're going to be there where
Mm-hmm.
because we're learning how to examine the brain and how it thinks, we're going to figure out a lot more about consciousness as we go. So maybe there is a point where we do define what consciousness is, like perfectly, or well, imperfectly, but good enough, right? Good enough definition, and we do reach it by 2030. I think ASI doesn't even necessarily have to be conscious, because it's just some weird prompt chain that happens. And humans might just be a prompt chain themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That might be all we are.
Mm-hmm.
Where if there were no more things prompting you, you would just stop thinking. It could happen. Yeah, I guess that's that has some weird implications, but yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah, we're
Well, and then we get into like the debate of like, is emotions intrinsic to sort of consciousness? Do you have to not just think but feel as well? Do you have to have some sort of there's a lot of discussion that could be had about that, and like within our lifetime, what will we see? Do we want AI? Does it need to have emotion to be conscious? Does it need to give a shit? Does it need to care to be conscious? Is it a necessity to be like, I think and I have opinions on things? I'm not just regurgitating data, right? Even if I'm regurgitating data at this massive, massive level that allows me to get all the information and then make decisions based on that information. And then I would even say to some degree, well, is that not what humans do? So this gets into the argument of like, is there a metaphysical realm of the idea that we tap into?
there's the
And
concept.
at what point does an animal tap into that? Does an ant tap into that? What about a dog? Well, what about a rat? That's somewhere in between.
There's the concept of is the mind contained within the brain, or is it some outward thing that you connect to, right? Some ethereal thing we can't explain yet.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of people
And
that
if
think
that's
this.
the case, and can an AI tap into that? I mean, it's just so complicated, because it's like, at what point do you tap into that ethereal metaphysical consciousness? Like, as far as evolution is concerned, like, I would say that dolphins might be able to do it, right? If this thing exists, but like, can a dog? What, like, what level? What level? And then if
Always with
someone's
the
really,
fucking
really
dolphins on
stupid,
this show.
well, they're very intelligent. Like a pig
Yeah,
probably as
dolphins.
well. A pig could do it, maybe.
They're pretty smart.
But like, what if the guy has brain damage? Is he no longer a metaphysical entity? Has he lost that? Where did it go? How does he get it back?
Right.
What what the fuck? It's such a
Yeah,
it's
if you've ever
pointless.
dealt with
It's
someone
pointless
with
conversation.
if you've dealt with someone with
Talk in
schizophrenia, you
circles.
can if you dealt with someone with schizophrenia, you see parts of them go missing. It's fucking scary. Like, you're just like, wait, who the fuck is that in there? That's not you anymore. There's something in there, and I don't know what the
I've
fuck
seen that
you are
before.
anymore. It is the scariest shit you'll ever experience.
Their
'Cause
whole demeanor changes too.
you're looking in their eyes, and there's someone else looking back at you. You're like, what the fuck happened to the other person? And that
Especially with
is,
like a dissociative identity disorder. Though that's highly debated if it exists.
yeah, who knows? But I have personally dealt with that, where what's looking back is different, and different than what you know. There was something else in there.
But
It looks
that
like
could
them. It
completely be
talks like them.
self-contained.
But you look in the eyes, and there's something missing. So there's degrees to consciousness that we might not really understand, where your chemical compound of your brain and all the juices in there and neurons firing, who knows what degree, if something interacts with that in the wrong way, sharp change in someone's personality. Like the story of people hitting their head, right? Some traumatic brain injury, and they're a different person from that point on.
Yep, different person. Yeah, I have my mom has a childhood friend, really nice guy, and then he got into a four-wheeling accident, smashed his head really bad, and then he's just like, he's an asshole, cusses all the time, does drinks and does drugs, was never like that, smacked his
That's
head, turned
probably
into a real piece of
CTE.
shit.
CTE makes you have like significantly less impulse control, more prone to anger. CTE is really bad. Banging your head up hurts. not just your head, but your mind.
Well,
It's bad.
and then it's like if we have a definable consciousness for like an AI, right? And then let's say that it's like, does that mean you get one more megabyte, one more byte of data? It achieves the consciousness, and then you take it away. Its consciousness is gone. How
Yeah,
does
is it
that
that
work?
close?
Yeah. At what point are you
How
the
can you?
at what point are you the straw that breaks the camel's back? How do we know we're past it at some
Yeah,
point?
yeah.
More than likely,
Yeah,
it's
it's just
more than likely it's some gradient that we're gonna reach that we have no clue we crossed it, but it's there.
hmm
And now that thing's conscious, we don't necessarily know it. Very hard to test. It might be able to
as
pass
conscious
every
as
yes,
people are. If you
yeah.
believe that we're conscious,
Well, it's going to get to the point where it passes every test of consciousness that we currently have, and we're satisfied with it. But it's not conscious at all. It's just pretending. And there's a significant amount of
like
people.
people.
Blake Lemoine talking to Lambda, more than likely, it just nothing against the guy. He seems very smart for the record, but like his own you got to think he's the first person in the world among however many people he's one of the first people in the world to interact with a large language model to this degree. It's shocking, right? This thing's coming back with poetry. What the hell, right? All this stuff is crazy. So you're in the moment and you're trying to get this thing to like, here, let's talk to a lawyer, right? And there's something in there, and the problem is that it's various degrees of hallucination. I've read a little bit of the transcript back, and it's like, oh, this is like GPT 3.5 level text generation. It's the same model, more or less, probably lower. But the point is like when you're the first person dealing with it, it's shocking. When I first fired up ChatGPT, said hello, that's the first thing I said to it, and it said, "Hey, I'm from OpenAI. Like, what's up, dude? How's it going?" And I'm just like, "Oh shit, here we go." And then I just start talking to it, and I don't understand a lot, and here we are now. I'm doing like a fucking podcast on it. But the point is, yeah, like that was a fascinating moment for me. I could see how if you don't understand it enough, you get wrapped up in the moment. This thing is fucking alive.
Whoa.
There's something in there, and I see it, right? It's not that strange. More than likely, it's not conscious right now, but it can certainly trick you into it. And there are tons of people out there, and we've met them, and they absolutely think these things are conscious.
And then like I guess the other last thing is like, is free will necessity for consciousness? Like, is it? And what is definably what is free will? So like I have an argument that I don't like thinking this way, but this is the only way I can rationally conclude anything, that like if there is no metaphysical consciousness, right? If it's all trapped in the brain, everything that you are is a result of two types of data. That
Atoms
is the
colliding,
data
yeah.
that is the hardware that you were born with and that evolves over time, and that is the software, which would be all the input, all the information, all the sensory input that you've received in your entire lifetime creates why you do what you do. If you had different input and you had different hardware, you do different shit. That's not free will. That's just you reacting to shit. That's not free will. You're not choosing to do anything. You are an amalgamation
You're
of
just a prompt
physical
agent.
hardware. Yes, that is what you are. I mean, how do you argue? The only way to argue against that is to argue from a metaphysical stance that actually, oh, we're this ethereal consciousness in the sky, and woo, that's the only way. And I'm not saying that's not true. I don't know. I'm just saying that's the only argument against it. And if that's the case, then there's no point
I
in
don't
trying
think
to get
so, to be
AI to do
honest.
free will.
I mean, I see your argument, right? But like, I don't think that it necessarily has to be a metaphysical thing of like, because all these atoms collided in this order, you are the way you are, right? Entirely possible, for the record. Like, I completely accept that as a thing. But there is degrees of like, your agency is born from your specific processor, just like you're talking about with like your hardware reacts in a certain way to everything, right? Maybe that's all there needs to be for free will, right? Like it may be a little more deterministic, but it's still free will at the end of the day, right? Maybe it's like you're putting
in
too
the
high.
best sense that we can.
You're putting too high of a standard on what is free will. Where
Free will.
free
Yeah,
will
I
might
get
just
that.
be that you're this processor that computes these things. And
It's different than the other processors, and then the
Yes, yes.
information I get is different than all the other ones as well. So then I make my own decisions based off all that.
But basically, my point is like maybe if the standard for free will is lowered, then that perfectly acceptably is free will. You are your own person. All your thoughts are yours to some degree. Just because you're a human, right? Like you're part of this larger organism that has all these degrees of politics and thought processes. Wherever you're born, yeah. There's, you know, not everyone could be Indian, right? Like that it would just be stupid to assume that we can all be Indian. We have different places in the world that you were born.
Different cultures, different, so much different shit.
And it absolutely influences the way you are, the soil you're born on, to some degree. So, in general, what I'm saying is
and the language you speak as well is pretty influential to how you think.
So it's kind of like you got all this training data, but now you're your own thing. So there's a degree to like your consciousness is like this level, and it may, you know, this is the argument some people have is that like language models, especially once we get into like biocomputing, will help us ascend our consciousness. We'll go up to higher levels of consciousness, freeing from
Neuralink.
Yeah, effectively. So we're headed towards all sorts of interesting things where questions we have now probably will be answered. Every question we have. Yeah.
So stay alive.
Yeah.
So life expectancy is going to increase, like we've talked about, right?
Yeah. Everything's going to speed up.
Exponentially.
We'll never reach the limit of questions, I don't think. Maybe we will, but overall, we're going to understand more about the world day by day, even though it gets more complicated.
I think when you look at it from a historical perspective, how much technological progress we've made, it just over the last few hundred years, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's the line that goes straight up, right? Like that whole meme.
Yeah, it's exponential. It's just
we're at the point where we're going to hit the doubling phase, and we're going to see what happens when we come out on the other side of it. But yeah.
And then all the advancement in the last 100 years will happen within a period of 10 years.
Yeah, and then a year, and then a month, and you name it. But effectively, that's where we are. We're on the precipice of everything.
Precipice. Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Well, thank you guys for coming today. By the way, I wanted to go ahead and end it right here. We're at the near 3-hour mark. I like to try to end it by 6, but yeah, thank you for coming, Ramzik. We're gonna have to work on your mic stuff. Hopefully, I don't have too many issues while editing you down. But we'll see. That's
it's okay.
That's my fucking problem.
I'm not offended. You do.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, thank you everyone for coming, and we're gonna keep building it from here. Hopefully, Twitter will be the next venue we go on. I'm gonna try to figure out the kick thing. I don't know what the hell happened. It was working perfectly fine yesterday when I tested it on my own channel.
But I think both uploading. I mean, we could do YouTube, Twitter, and we could stream it at the same time. I see no issue. The more, the merrier.
That's what I was trying to do today, but I had.
And you failed.
I fucking suck, guys. Everyone thinks I've got like a brain in here. It's just I'm a prompt.
See, that's why I like being Johnny. Because no one thinks I have a brain in here. But because I kind of do a little bit, they're always surprised.
A little bit.
See, that's the problem.
Got a little bit in there.
Whoa. This guy's got
You gotta convince
nuts.
everyone you're stupid.
Yeah.
Then when you say something smart, everyone's impressed.
All right. Well,
there you go.
I'm gonna cut you guys off there. I'm out for now. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Okay.
Have a good rest of your weekend, guys. Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.